Hey everyone, Firescale Audiobooks here. If there's a novel you'd love to hear more of, you can support us on Patreon or Ko-fi. Depending on your tier, I'll make extra parts just for the stories you're most excited about. Usually I can only upload 4 to 5 parts of each novel, but with your support we can go beyond that. And of course, don't forget to hit subscribe. It helps more than you know.
What did you just say? Belsay stepped forward and grabbed Boroko's arm. Ouch. You're hurting me, Belsay. Boroko exclaimed, her little face turning deathly pale. Belsay slightly reduced his strength, his face instantly turning extremely ugly. He asked coldly, Porco, explain yourself clearly. What happened to planet Vegeta, youth you don't know? Boroko was taken aback at first, then was about to tell Belsay the truth. Hey you cook. Didn't you know planet Vegeta was shattered by a meteorite? Kyuya laughed, walking over and patting Belsay on the shoulder. I must say you cook are really lucky. You must have left planet Vegeta beforehand, which is why you escaped the disaster. Beryl remained silent, his expression growing increasingly grim. Was planet Vegeta destroyed? When did this happen? Belsay's body trembled violently. I've only been away from planet Vegeta for less than 2 days. How could planet Vegeta have been destroyed so quickly? Jin Bardock, how are they? They must have died along with the destruction of the planet. Right, although this is the Dragon Ball world, they can be revived by Shenron. But Beerus really didn't want them to die 2 days ago. Bo Ryuk lowered her head, Saiyan cook. You still have time to mourn your fallen brethren. Kyuya's laughter grew even more rampant. You should be more concerned about yourself. I'm furious about your and this little girl's rude behavior just now. So I've decided to beat you both to death. But I'm still a kind person, I'll let you both die together. So you'll have company in the underworld, wahahaha. As Kyuya spoke, he patted Belsay on the shoulder, his laughter growing increasingly grating. Bang. Belsay slapped Kyuya hard across the face. A muffled thud followed upon closer inspection. Kyuya's head was seen spinning around his neck several times in an instant. Then Kyuya's head drooped down, his eyes wide open. Boroko was stunned, Naba was dumbfounded. Raditz's hair was practically standing on end. Vegeta's pupils constricted sharply, his face filled with shock. Who exactly are you? Kyuya asked weakly. It must be said that the Kyuya race has a relatively strong vitality. Although the bones in his neck were broken, the flesh and skin were still attached to his head, preventing it from falling off. Even so, Kyuya did not die immediately. Instead, his eyes bulged outward as he looked at Belsay with some fear. Where is planet Vegeta located? Bels asked with a grim face. Does anyone know the coordinates? As he spoke, Belsay's gaze swept over Vegeta, Napper, Raditz, and Poroko in turn. Vegeta grinned, his eyes filled with confusion. What's going on? How did our family cook become so amazing? The coordinates are, I know. Nappa trembled with fear and immediately gave out the coordinates of planet Vegeta. Raditz's lips twitched at his face turned pale, and he dared not meet Beller's gaze. Boroko looked at Beryl with admiration and said excitedly, Beryl, you are amazing. Not only are you a great cook, but you're also incredibly strong. Whoosh. Belsay didn't speak. After hearing the coordinates given by Naba, he vanished in a flash. Belsay vanished instantly via teleportation. As Belsay's figure suddenly disappeared, the people present were once again stunned. Belsay, where are you? Don't leave me. Boroko looked around searching for Belsay, her eyes reddening again. But where is Belsar now? The group searched but naturally couldn't find Beerus. That strange guy, how did he suddenly disappear? Raditz breathed a slight sigh of relief. Laddit. Are you sure he's the same Belsay your family took in? Naba's expression changed repeatedly. Does this kind of thing even need to be confirmed? Asked Boroko. Raditz pointed to Boroko standing to the side. Naba then swept his hand towards Boroko. It is indeed Belsay. Boroko nodded vigorously. He seems to have changed a lot. Raditz stroked his chin thoughtfully. Didn't you notice his tail is gone? Naba said. The question is, how did he disappear? Raditz asked curiously, so mysterious. But this guy is amazing. He punched Kyuya's head so hard it spun around on his neck several times. Naba shuddered at the thought of what had just happened. Vegeta remained silent but stepped forward to look at Q, who was hanging his head. Naba and Raditz immediately came to their senses and rushed forward to check on Kyuya's condition. Kyuya remained standing unyielding. Is he dead? Raditz asked curiously. I'm still alive. I've let you down. Kyuya weakly raised his head, though his neck was twisted into a pretzel. Upon hearing Kyuya's sudden words, both Naba and Raditz were startled and took a step back. Beryl Kyuya was so frightened that she covered her eyes. Vegeta felt that the people around him were all terrible teammates. The man was so frightened that he backed away. And the woman covered her eyes in fear. If you cover your eyes, will there be no danger? If Beryl were here, he would be somewhat surprised to see Kyuya like this. This race is truly resilient. But I'm dying, there's still a chance to save me. Get me to the treatment ward immediately. Kyuya's gaze swept over Vegeta, his eyes carrying a commanding tone. HMPH, so I'll send you to the treatment ward for treatment. Vegeta snorted. Hurry up, don't repeat myself. Kyuya ordered. Bang. Vegeta kicked out and landed directly on Kyuya's head. Click, suddenly Kyuya's head and neck separated, and he rolled to the ground, tumbling several times like a soccer ball. Gradually, Kyuya's head came to a stop and his eyes spun in a spiral shape. He was so dizzy from being turned around. Damn it, Vegeta. You be asterisk 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 D, Kyuya cursed, your head split apart. And you still have the nerve to curse, Vegeta chuckled. Looking at Kyuya with a smile, walked towards him. You dare kick my head like a ball, I'll never forgive you. Kyuya's face was fierce. Why won't you let me off the hook? You talk as if you can still recover. Vegeta laughed and stretched out his hand, aiming it at Kyuya's head from a distance. You mustn't do anything rash, Vegeta. Kyuya's lips twitched in fright. As far as I know, with the current technological level of Frieza's army, even if they reattached your head, they probably couldn't restore you to your former state. Right? Vegeta sneered. Daichiu, Vegeta said. There's no need to be polite. And shot out a beam of light from his hand. Kyuya's eyes were filled with despair. Boom. With a deafening roar, Kyuya's head was instantly blasted into dust by Vegeta. At the moment Kyuya's head exploded, his one standing body finally collapsed slowly to the ground. Snort! Vegeta snorted coldly and kicked Kyuya's headless body high into the air. Immediately afterwards, Vegeta pointed a finger from a distance. Bang! Kyuya's headless body was torn to pieces, turning into a cloud of blood mist. Naba, Raditz and Kuroko stared at Vegeta in astonishment, speechless. Oh no, a spaceship! Vegeta suddenly realized something and quickly flew towards the spaceship. Vegeta was worried that Belsai would take the spaceship away. That way they might stay on this planet for a very long time. Naba, Raditz and Borokoi immediately realized what was happening and followed suit. However, when the four people appeared near the spaceship, their hearts, which had been hanging in suspense, were slightly relieved. In addition to Vegeta's spaceship, a spherical spaceship also landed nearby. That spherical spaceship was the one Kyuya had traveled in when he came here. Boroko, where would that guy Belser go? Naba asked. I don't know either, I want to know where he went. Kyuya pouted, looking quite aggrieved. Seeing Belsaint this time, I feel he has changed so much. Raditz remarked, stroking his chin. Vegeta remained silent, looking up at the vast starry sky with an extremely complex expression in his eyes. Outer space. Belsai used instant transmission, instantly appearing in the universe where planet Vegeta was located. This area is exactly the coordinates that Naba just gave us. Beryl gazed at the distant starry sky, lost in thought. Looking over from this position, you can see the brightest star in the sky above planet Vegeta. The star was still the same, emitting a pale blue light, standing out conspicuously in the starry sky. Bertha clearly remembered that Jin had once taken him to the yard to look at the brightest star. Belsi. That's the brightest star on our planet Vegeta, blue star. Jin held Belsi's little hand, pointing to the star in the sky. Her voice gentle and her face kind. Blue star. Belsay fell into deep thought. Another name for Earth is blue star. However, at that time, Belizy knew very well that the blue star above planet Vegeta did not refer to Earth. It was a blue star, very large and very bright. It shimmered with a pale blue light in the night sky above planet Vegeta. It was absolutely beautiful. Now, when Belsay looks towards that blue star again, he still sees the same blue planet he once knew. However, planet Vegeta no longer exists. Aunt Jin and Bardock, they will likely perish along with planet Vegeta. Bercy felt very uncomfortable. Could it be that because I was taken away by Kosa and Rumsey? A butterfly effect occurred, causing Frieza to destroy planet Vegeta prematurely. After a brief silence, a fiery red light flickered and surged within Beryl's eyes. After hovering above planet Vegeta for more than half an hour, Belsay finally looked around. Immediately afterwards, Belsay gazed at the vast starry sky. Whoosh. The next moment Belsay left a trail of flame in his place, which quickly disappeared. The vast starry sky, the boundless universe. Frieza's spaceship is slowly floating in some starry sky. Frieza remained seated in the stroller, her eyes filled with contentment, a smile playing on her lips, and her tail swaying gently behind her. Bariburu, how many Saiyans are left? Frieza asked with a grin. Lord Frieza, according to data from various sources, most of the Saiyans who were supposed to return have had their spaceships destroyed and died in space. Bariblu smiled slightly and immediately stepped forward to bow. Now there are fewer than 10 Saiyans left, and with combatants still carrying out orders, it's estimated that in less than a month, no more than 5 Saiyans will remain. That's good. Frieza nodded in satisfaction. But why did Lord Frieza have Chewie release Vegeta? Bilibis was very puzzled. Isn't it interesting to keep your opponent close by and observe them? Bilibis, Frieza smiled mysteriously. What if he becomes a Super Saiyan? Buriblu asked, somewhat worried. Heh. Frieza let out a series of eerie laughs. Your worries are unnecessary. Biliblu did not respond. Besides, Frieza really want Vegeta to become a Super Saiyan. I also want to see just how strong a Super Saiyan really is. Frieza suddenly became interested. As expected of Lord Frieza, only a true cosmic emperor could possess such grandeur. Buriblu immediately flattered and fawned. Give the order to arrange for Vegeta and the others to train on planets with low combat strength. Frieza added immediately afterward. Biliblu was truly speechless. I just thought Lord Frieza was quite a character. I didn't expect you to back down so quickly. Whoosh. As the two were talking, a spatial fluctuation occurred in the room. The next moment, Belsay used teleportation and instantly appeared in the room where Frieza was. Who? Biliblu was stunned, unable to contain his astonishment. Frieza stared wide-eyed at Belsay, who had appeared on the scene with some surprise. Frieza, was it you who destroyed planet Vegeta? Bels asked calmly. Who are you? Frieza didn't recognize Belsay at all. Even if the real Beryl were here, Frieza wouldn't recognize him. After all, among the many Saiyans on planet Vegeta, Bels was just an ordinary nothing special. As the Emperor of the universe, Frieza would naturally not know a royal chef, of course. If Beryl's true form were to appear, Frieza might recognize him as a Saiyan because of his tail. However, the current Beryl has almost no Saiyan characteristics. Answer my question, Beryl said coldly. Who are you? How dare you act so presumptuously here? Biliblu shouted angrily at Beryl. Do you know who you're talking to? Frieza was amused and annoyed. He pointed to his nose with his thumb and looked at Belizy with a smirk. Since you know my name, you should know my true identity. I am the Emperor of the Universe. However, before Frieza could finish speaking, Beryl swiftly stepped forward and grabbed Frieza's tail. Bang! Berserker grabbed Frieza by the tail and slammed his body heavily onto Bilibis. Ugh! Bilibis let out a scream as Frieza smashed him into a bloody pulp. He was beyond dead. Frieza felt dizzy and lightheaded, as if his body was falling apart. It's important to understand that even in his final fourth form, Frieza is still far inferior to Zamasu. Not to mention comparing it to Belsay. For Berserker, crushing Frieza would be as easy as crushing an ant. Bang bang bang. Belsay grabbed Frieza by the tail and slammed him back and forth and side to side inside the spaceship. Immediately, a series of booming sounds erupted from inside the spaceship. The crew members inside the spaceship were all bewildered, completely unaware of what was happening. 10 seconds later, boom, with a deafening roar. Frieza's spaceship burst into a spectacular explosion, illuminating the starry sky. Frieza's henchmen on the spaceship were suddenly exposed to outer space. Those of Frieza's henchmen who didn't have time to put on their air shields and couldn't survive in space died instantly here. A very small number of survivors stared blankly at the exploding spaceship. Still in a daze, however. What happened next left them even more bewildered. The survivors were astonished to discover that someone was grabbing Lord Frieza by the tail and lifting him high in the air, punching him repeatedly in the face. Soon, Frieza's face was slapped beyond recognition. The survivors huddled together in terror, trembling as if they were having a nightmare. Who the hell is this? That's incredible. They actually beat Lord Frieza into such a pathetic state. That's absolutely terrifying. Berserker beat Frieza for a full 10 minutes before he felt much better. However, Beryl didn't go all out and immediately eliminate Frieza. Wouldn't that be too unsatisfying? Now can you answer my question? Beryl grabbed Frieza's armor and patted his face with his other hand. Although Beryl hadn't used too much force, the beating still knocked Frieza unconscious. Poor Frieza. Before he even knew what was happening, was given a good beating. Smack. Beryl released wisps of healing light from his hand, covering Frieza's head and temporarily rousing him from his coma. Frieza opened his eyes and immediately flew into a rage. However, immediately afterward, Frieza felt pain all over his body, as if his body had fallen apart, and all his energy seemed to have been drained, leaving him completely powerless. Aside from being somewhat conscious, I felt an indescribable pain in other parts of my body. Who are you? Frieza's eyes widened in fury. Frieza had never been treated like this before in his entire life. Who the hell is that? The first thing they asked me was a single question. And they beat me up pretty badly. Bang. With a single punch, Beryl knocked out 6 of Frieza's teeth. Frieza let out painful howls, blood flowing from his mouth. Beryl stared coldly at Frieza, saying nothing more, his eyes flashing with murderous intent. I'll talk. Let's talk this out. Can't we discuss things properly? Frieza trembled violently, his eyes filled with terror. Beryl remained indifferent, gesturing for Frieza to continue. It was I who destroyed planet Vegeta. Frieza told the truth. This is something that can't be hidden even if you want to. If this guy just asks one of my underlings, he'll definitely be exposed. So now Frieza can only pray that this guy has a grudge against the Saiyans of planet Vegeta. Slap slap. Beryl slapped Frieza hard across the face with 2 powerful blows. Frieza tilted his head and fainted again. Beryl once again enveloped Frieza's head in a healing aura. Waking him up, Frieza opened his eyes, his face showing a mixture of surprise and joy, but also utter despair. The reason for the surprise was that Frieza felt he was still alive. The reason for the despair is that the discovery of Frieza's tragedy is still under this person's control. Didn't we agree that planet Vegeta would be destroyed a month later? Why is it happening earlier? Beryl asked coldly. Frieza, how did this guy find out about this? He must have found out through my men, right? You'd better answer my questions honestly. I am God, the supreme God of this universe. Beryl's eyes were icy. There's nothing I don't know. Frieza wanted to immediately start cursing. Didn't you say there was nothing you didn't know? Then why did you come here to ask me? If you're going to ask a question, ask it properly. It's very impolite to start by beating someone up. Well, the original plan was indeed to destroy planet Vegeta in a month. But I suddenly don't want to wait anymore. Frieza answered obediently, afraid that if he spoke too late, he would get beaten up by this guy again. Just because you suddenly didn't want to wait anymore. Belsay's eyes narrowed. Frieza dared not utter a sound, his expression changing repeatedly. At this moment, Frieza desperately wanted to rebel. However, Frieza tragically discovered that all the energy in his body seemed to have been drained, leaving him extremely weak. However, Frieza still has a strong will to survive. After all, Frieza believed he had been caught off guard. If I transform into my final form, no, even my second form, I'll beat this kid to a pulp. Wait a minute, this kid says he's a god, the supreme god. HMPH, so what if he's a god aside from the god of destruction? Who else has Frieza ever feared, the only god of Frieza? Dare not provoke is the god of destruction. All other gods are nothing but a fart. You better not make me recover. Once I recover, you'll be sorry. Frieza's inner thoughts are quite complex. This is Lord Beerus's order, Frieza quick-witted. Immediately shifted the blame to Beerus, adding, since you're a god, you should know about Lord Beerus, the god of destruction. A murderous glint flashed in Belsel's eyes as he placed his hand on Frieza's chest. You mustn't do this, Frieza panicked, crying out in despair, I'm Lord Beerus's subordinate. If you kill me, Lord Beerus will never forgive you. You're nothing but Beerus's dog, Belser sneered. Frieza die boom. As Belsay spoke, energy surged from his hands. With a deafening roar, Belsay's energy pierced directly through Frieza's body. Frieza's eyes were filled with endless despair, and his life force rapidly dissipated. Bels glanced expressionlessly in Frieza's direction, then looked at the few Frieza's henchmen still alive nearby. The henchmen trembled with fear and hurriedly knelt down in outer space, kowtowing repeatedly. You are also the culprits who destroyed planet Vegeta. Belsai sneered, glaring at Frieza's henchmen. Bang bang bang, instantly. The surviving Frieza's minions turned into clouds of blood mist, exploding in outer space. After doing all this, Beryl felt much better, however. An unnamed fire was still burning within Bercy's heart. Bertha's only regret was that he didn't get to go back and say goodbye to Aunt Jin and Bardock. Then, Beryl was knocked unconscious by Rumsey's snap of his fingers. When Belser woke up, he was already in the God of Destruction realm of Universe 10. It's all Rumsey's fault. Although you were quite nice to me for the past 2 days. But let's keep things separate also. Kreese and Rumsey said that bringing Aunt Jin and Bardock back to Universe 10 would be difficult to explain to Beerus here. But I haven't finished speaking. I didn't ask you to take them back to the 10th universe. I just want you to take them away from planet Vegeta and find a suitable planet to settle them on. Can't you even grant me such a simple wish? Or even if you don't save Jin and Bardock, I won't blame you. But I just want to go back and say goodbye. There are still some things I want to say to them, but now these words can no longer be said to Aunt Jin and Bardock. Moreover, before this, Belsai had actually come up with a way to escape planet Vegeta with Aunt Jin and Bardock. The arrival of Keith and Rums has completely disrupted Bel's original plans. Of course, this plan was extremely dangerous and also carried the risk of death. But it's still better than Aunt Jin and Bardock dying. Right, Rumsey? Belsey gritted his teeth. Even though you saved me, but you owe me an apology, however. Getting the God of Destruction to apologize to me seems like a very difficult thing to achieve. I'll prepare for both possibilities. A plan took shape in Belsey's mind, swish swish swish. The next moment Belial's figure flashed back and forth, quickly appearing in the Supreme Kai realm of Universe 10. Belsey, did you just use teleportation? Jevaz was shocked to see Belsey appear there. Lord Jevaz, I have now fully mastered all of the Supreme Kai's skills. Belser tried to calm himself down and said politely to Jevaz, you've mastered all of the Supreme Kai's skills so quickly. Gawaz was stunned, looking at Bells with disbelief. You've already seen teleportation, so I won't demonstrate it again, Belsay said, raising his right hand and a crystal ball appearing in his palm. Smack! Beryl made the crystal ball levitate in the air and waved his hand from a distance. Suddenly, a scene of a starry sky appeared in the crystal ball. Amazing, amazing! Jivas exclaimed in astonishment once again. Whoosh! Beryl retrieved the crystal ball and said calmly, there's nothing much to demonstrate about the Patara earrings. Is there? The time-space ring is with you. Besides that, what else? Excellent, excellent. Jivas praised, feeling that Bersai was simply a genius. He couldn't help but ask, by the way, how did you manage to master all the skills in just 1 day? I went to another dimension and cultivated there for a year. Belsay told the truth. Guaston suddenly realized. No wonder he mastered all the skills in just 1 day. Wrong. even if one used an alternate dimension to train for a year. To be able to comprehend the skills of a Supreme Kai to this extent is still an extraordinary achievement. Even though you went to another dimension. That's still amazing, Jevas praised repeatedly. Then asked with a hint of curiosity, by the way. Is there anything else you want to ask me? I want to become the Supreme Kai as soon as possible. Belial said seriously. Oh, Jivas was taken aback. Staring blankly at Beerus, speechless for a moment. Jivas was at a loss for words. Do you really want me to retire? And that's only been a day. Kavas was speechless. Is that all right? Beryl asked again. Ha ha ha. Of course. I also want to retire as soon as possible and enjoy a retired life. Jivas laughed awkwardly. How can one become a true Supreme Kai? Beryl asked, his eyes sincere. It's very simple. Jivas took a deep breath and made up his mind. Jevas originally wanted to find a suitable successor and retire early. Following the original plot, Guaz found Zamaz. However, Zamaz's stubborn nature made Guaz hesitate. But now, Guaz feels that Belser is fully capable of taking on the role of Supreme Kai. It was just a bit too sudden. Jivas felt a little disappointed. He had originally planned to retire as soon as possible. But when the moment of retirement actually arrived, Guaz felt a pang of reluctance. However, what's bound to happen will happen eventually. Is that ritual still necessary? Beryl asked. No need, just wait a moment, it'll be ready soon. Guaz laughed, his expression relaxing. Immediately afterwards, Guaz suddenly opened his eyes and glared at Beerus. The next moment, Belser's true form clearly felt that the invisible divine power within his clone vanished in an instant. No, it can't be said that they've completely disappeared. It can only be said that the invisible divine power that was born when he became an apprentice Supreme Kai suddenly dispersed within his body and completely merged with his divine power body. Then, Beryl suddenly noticed that the color of her Patara earrings had gradually changed from orange to green. Looking at Guaz again, the color of her Patara earrings has changed from green to dark green. All right, Bells. You are now officially the Supreme Kai of Universe 10. Gaua's smile took a deep breath and said earnestly to Bells, I hope that with your hard work, Universe 10 will develop even better. Currently, our Universe 10's overall index ranking is only 3. Third from the bottom in the entire universe. So I'm a true Supreme Kai now. Belial wasn't particularly interested in the universe comprehensive index ranking. Yes, I'm now officially retired. Guaz nodded with a smile. If I die, will Rumsey disappear? Beerus asked again. Guaz's smile froze on his face. And for a moment, he didn't know how to answer the question. How did you come up with that idea? Jeva said, both amused and exasperated. Please answer my question, Lord Jivas. Berserk said again in an unquestionable tone. Yes. As you know, we Supreme Kais and gods of destruction share life. If one dies, the other disappears as well. Gauaz nodded seriously, then asked curiously. But why do you have this idea? Gods of destruction are the most powerful gods in our universe. They don't die easily. While we Supreme Kais aren't as powerful as gods of destruction, we are still considered quite powerful gods in the entire universe. You could say that there are very few who can threaten our lives. And you're so powerful. Even if you encounter someone you can't fight, you can ask Lord Rumsey for help. If I were to die by accident, would it affect you? Beryl asked another question. Jivas. Why do you always say you're going to die? What exactly do you mean? Even Kavas is a bit of a challenge. Seeing Belser's serious expression, Gauaz could only answer his question, it won't affect me. Because I've retired and in principle, I'm no longer a Supreme Kai, but you can rest assured. Although I've retired, if you encounter any trouble, you can tell me and I'll help you solve it. Moreover, I still retain the basic skills of a Supreme Kai. However, I no longer have the authority to use the time ring. At this point, Guaz suddenly seemed to remember something and raised his right hand. Whoosh! A box containing a time-space ring appeared in Jevas's hand, which he then handed to Beryl. Beryl glanced at the box containing the time-space ring, took the box, opened it and put on the time-space ring. Belsith 10th universe is now in your hands. Gua said with a smile, then asked, "What are you going to do next? From which direction do you plan to develop our 10th universe?" "I'm so scared Rumsey's dead," Bersai said through gritted teeth. Cave ass. Guaz was completely dumbfounded. Ha ha ha, this. Belsi, don't joke like that. Jivas felt a headache coming on. Why are you trying to scare Rumsey to death? He's not that easily scared to death unless. Jivas seemed to have thought of something. It's decided. Beryl snorted, unless he apologizes to me. I'll self-destruct in front of him. Let's see what he has to say then, huh? Jivas opened his mouth, his eyes widened. And he froze instantly. Kai. Belsai immediately used teleportation, disappearing from the spot in an instant. Hey, wait a minute, Belsi, Guaz exclaimed in surprise. Then suddenly realized that the kid wasn't joking. Something's not right. Wasn't Belsi brought here by Lady Kess and Lady Rumsey? What deep-seated hatred existed between them? No. I have to tell Lady Kreese about this right away. The 10th universe, outer space. A streak of purplish-red light was traveling rapidly through outer space. It was none other than Rumsey, the god of destruction. Rumsey was furious and enraged, pushing his speed to the limit, leaving a purplish-red tail in the starry sky. Belsi, you've got guts, kid. Just wait till I get back and teach you a lesson. Rumsey gritted his teeth in hatred. That kid is despicable. I just learned how to teleport, and it transported me to the ends of the universe. Unfortunately, our god of destruction doesn't allow teleportation. It will take me at least several hours to fly back. You just wait, kid. Just wait till I get back, I'll teach you a lesson. Whoosh. Rumsey felt he wasn't moving fast enough, so he increased his speed again. Boom. Rumsey pierced through an uninhabited planet. The planet exploded in space, bursting forth with brilliant colors. You brat, I'll get you, Rumsey roared, swinging his elephant trunk back and forth in anger. As he flew, Rumsey suddenly noticed that space was distorted and fluctuating in a distant location. Immediately afterward, Rumsey looked closely and saw Belizy appearing in outer space. After a brief moment of stunned silence, Rumsey stormed off in a huff. Hey kid, you dare come back? I'll break your legs. Rumsey, arm in arm, was about to rush up and beat Beryl up. Wait a minute, Bersy waved his hand. You've come to apologize to me. Humph, it's not too late for you to apologize now. Go back and cook me 100 dishes, maybe then I can forgive you. Rumsey swayed his elephant trunk and kept snorting. However, after saying that, Rumsey suddenly realized that something was wrong with Belsy's condition. Hey, what's going on? Why has the color of your Portara earring changed? Rumsey was taken aback, staring intently at the Portara earring on Belsy's ear. There's nothing to explain. Because I've become a true Supreme Kai, Belial said calmly, grinning. At the moment Frieza destroyed planet Vegeta, Aunt Jin must have felt incredibly desperate, right? Was Bardock the same? You've become a true Supreme Kai. That Gowasu guy agreed to abdicate so quickly. Rumsey paused slightly, then his eyes lit up. You're something else. You're the human who went from a trainee Supreme Kai to a Supreme Kai in the shortest time in history. Rumsey, to be honest, you've been pretty good to me. Beryl sighed. Rumsey, however, your attitude towards me is only based on wanting me to work for you. Isn't it? Belsay changed the subject and asked coldly. HMPH, do you have a problem with that? Rumsey snorted. You want me to do your work? I have no problem with that, Beryl replied. I'm confident I can do the job very well. Kid, I didn't expect you to be so self-aware. It's great to hear you say that, Rumsey laughed heartily, feeling that happiness had come too suddenly. However, your biggest mistake was knocking me unconscious, preventing me from saying goodbye to Aunt Jin, Belsay said coldly. Rumsey looked completely bewildered and couldn't react for a moment. The main problem is that Rumsey didn't know who Jin was. Even though I'd heard Kess mention it before, I quickly forgot about it. I originally wanted to go back and say a proper goodbye to Aunt Jin. Belser said in a deep voice. I followed you. And with some more training, I was sure I could get back in time to save them. But what I didn't expect was that Frieza guy destroyed planet Vegeta ahead of schedule. I thought you were going to say something. It's no big deal. Rumsey finally realized what was going on. Shaking his elephant trunk and speaking calmly. An apology, this is negotiable. Beerus said in a deep voice, don't even think about it. Rumsey snorted, I told you if you apologize to me properly, I might forgive you. Beryl clenched his fists tightly. HMPH, you want me to apologize? You're dreaming. Rumsey huffed angrily. Your attitude disappoints me greatly. Beryl took a deep breath. What can you do to me, kid? Don't think you're so great just because you're a Supreme Kai. Supreme Kais are nothing in front of gods of destruction. Rumsey rolled his eyes. I haven't settled accounts with you yet. You just sent me to the edge of the universe. And I need to settle that score with you. I know that no matter how hard I try, I can never be your match right now. Beerus said in a deep voice, it's good that you know it. Having self-awareness is a good thing. Rumsey snorted, his smug nose curling up, however. Just after Rumsey finished laughing, a voice suddenly entered his mind. Upon hearing that voice, Rumsey's smile froze instantly. His body trembled violently, and his face turned deathly pale. Curs. Are you kidding me? Rumsey exclaimed anxiously. Oh dear Lord Rumsey, I'm not joking, Kree sighed softly. Lord Guas told me himself, and, judging from the situation, Beryl is very serious, Rumsey. Goodbye Rumsey, Beryl said, his body rapidly swelling. Holy crap, Rumsey was instantly terrified, feeling like his head was about to explode. He hurriedly shouted, don't do anything rash, Beerus. Beryl smiled slightly, a look of resignation to his fate appearing in his eyes. I'll scare you to death, let's see what you do then. Are you scared? Who told you not to apologize? Beryl was just trying to scare Rumsey. This clone is immortal and won't die even if it self-destructs. Unless it gets destroyed, this is your punishment. As for Bardock and Aunt Jin, the only way to revive them is to use the Dragon Balls. Wait. Listen to me first, your Aunt Jin is still alive. Rumsey was truly terrified and hurriedly shouted at the about-to-explode Beryl. Rumsey, remember to write a draft next time you lie. Beryl didn't believe him. His body was already swollen into a ball, and he could explode at any moment. Hey. Rumsey panicked completely. I'm telling the truth. If you don't believe me, you can ask Kiers. I'm the one who had Kiers rescue her from the explosion on planet Vegeta. Beerus ignored him, his body continuing to swell. After all, in Beerus's opinion, Rumsey might be using delaying tactics. If I'm even slightly careless and this guy gets the chance, he might take me under his control. It's also possible that he'll seal away my clone, just like Beerus sealed away the old Kaioshin. Perhaps that would be the best option for the god of destruction. Just as Beller's body had swelled to its maximum, Rumsey was completely panicked and felt utterly numb. The main problem was that things happened so suddenly that Rumsey didn't have a good idea of how to handle it right away. Seeing that Beryl had swollen into a large balloon, Rumsey felt an overwhelming sense of despair and instinctively clutched his nose, turning his face bright red. Whoosh. At the critical moment, two figures suddenly appeared on the scene. It was Kes and Jivas. It was Guas who brought Kex here. After all, Guas also realized that something was wrong and immediately contacted Keith. Oh dear Beryl, Lord Rumsey is telling the truth. He didn't lie to you, Keith explained to Beryl. Beryl glanced at Krisher, eyes resolute. Her act perfectly genuine, showing no sign of wavering. Look at Keith, this kid's like a donkey. Not even 100,000 oxen could pull him back. Rumsey's face turned even redder with anxiety. See for yourself, Beryl. Knowing Beryl wouldn't believe her, Keith swung her scepter through the air. Smack. Suddenly, a huge projection appeared out of thin air in the starry sky, shining exceptionally brightly at this moment. On the projected screen, Jin's voice and smile appeared. Beside Jin appeared a blue alien that looked like an onion dome. As a huge Dragon Ball fan, Beryl immediately recognized the alien's race. Isn't that Adelaide? Where is this? Beryl asked, looking at Keith. Adelot, a habitable planet, as you've seen. Jin gets along very well with them on that planet, Keith explained with a smile. Beerus was somewhat convinced. If you believe me, then let me restore your body, okay? Kirsty asked softly. Beerus nodded slowly. With a flick of her scepter, Keith sent a swift wave of light towards Beryl. and a realm of angels rapidly enveloped him, instantly. The swollen body of Belsera was slowly repaired by the power of the angels and gradually returned to its original appearance. Seeing that Belsay had fully recovered, Rumsey finally breathed a sigh of relief. This kid is absolutely ruthless. They actually self-destructed. This is absolutely outrageous. While Rumsey was relaxed, he was also somewhat annoyed and deeply regretful. What terrible things have I done? I actually found a Supreme Kai who threatened my life. This is tragic. What to do, kid? Don't just throw around self-destruction all the time. You should know that life is precious. Rumsey's face flushed red as he glared angrily at Belly. Belsidle didn't speak, but instead vanished in a flash. Rumsey was furious but also somewhat shaken. Where has that kid been up to again? Rumsey asked excitedly. He must have gone to Adelaide. Kirsten examined the crystal ball on her scepter closely. This kid doesn't even believe you. Rumsey gripped his nose tightly, his face turning increasingly red. Lord Rumsey, you should let go of his hand. Doesn't it hurt to be unable to breathe like that? Guaz couldn't help but remind him from the side. Guaz's words immediately drew Rumsey's hatred to his side. Smack! Rumsey stepped forward, grabbed Jivas by the collar, and shouted angrily at him, Jivas. You be ****D, why did you choose to abdicate so quickly? Jivas was speechless for a moment. Didn't Lord Rumsey tell me to abdicate and step down as soon as possible? Guaz said, both amused and exasperated. Rumsey's expression froze. He didn't know what to say. I feel like I dug a hole and buried myself in it. Am I the most tragic destroyer in history? Don't worry, Lord Rumsey. As long as Belsey sees that Jin is safe and sound and living well on that planet, the feud between you will be resolved from now on. The two of you should cooperate well and develop our 10th universe together. Crystal said with a smile. Rumsey snorted, still a bit shaken, but speaking of which, Lord Rumsey, there's something else I forgot to tell you. Kier said, blinking at Rumsey as if suddenly remembering something. You say it. Rumsey was taken aback and started to get nervous again. You guys chat, I'll be going now. Jevas quickly waved his hand, not wanting to hear about these gossips. I'm retired now, let me have some peace and quiet, get lost. Rumsey waved his hand dismissively. Goodbye, Lord Jevas, Kes nodded politely. Before I leave, I have one last thing to say. Jivas said after a moment's hesitation. Mustering his courage, speak up and then get out of here. Rumsey snorted, swaying his elephant trunk back and forth. I hope you and Belsey can put aside your differences and make peace, so that our 10th universe can thrive. Jevas earnestly advised, are you ever going to stop? Rumsey's face darkened, Kaika. Guaz immediately used teleportation and disappeared. After Guaz left, Rumsey immediately asked Kreese if there was anything he had forgotten to say. I don't know if I've told Lord Rumsey before, but Jin and Bardock are actually Belser's biological parents. Keith said with a smile. Rumsey felt completely overwhelmed at that moment. No wonder that kid got so desperate, insisting on self-destructing no matter what. I can understand, Rumsey sighed deeply, however. Belsworth was unaware of this, Kirsten added. A million grass mud horses ran through Rumsey's mind. Can you just finish what you're saying all at once? Rumsey gritted his teeth in annoyance, then asked curiously, what exactly are you trying to say? Should we tell Belizy about this? Keith asked. No, absolutely not, Rumsey decisively shook his trunk. He absolutely cannot know about this now. He dared to expose his adoptive parents in front of me. If he knew they were his biological parents, who knows what earth-shattering things that kid would do. All right then. I'll pretend I don't know anything about Jin and Bardock being his biological parents. Lord Rumsey will tell him himself later. Kreese immediately shifted all the blame. Okay, I'll handle this, Rumsey nodded gravely. I need to find a suitable opportunity to tell him. Definitely not now. Does Lord Rumsey intend to resolve his feud with Belsey? Keith asked, what else can we do? This kid's already a Supreme Kai, Rumsey said irritably. We've finally met a suitable Supreme Kai. I feel like if we talk things out, there shouldn't be any major problems, actually. If Lord Rumsey just apologizes properly. I don't think Belsey is so petty. She'll definitely forgive him, Keith advised. Are you kidding me? You want me, God of Destruction, to apologize to Supreme Kai? You're dreaming. Rumsey was furious. If all else fails, Lord Rumsey could learn from Universe 7. Kreese chuckled. Universe 7. Rumsey was taken aback again, somewhat confused, however. Rumsey reacted very quickly and soon came to his senses. Rumsey suddenly remembered that Beerus, the god of destruction of Universe 7, had deliberately sealed a Supreme Kai into the God Sword so that he could sleep more peacefully. In this way, as long as the Supreme Kai inside the Divine Sword doesn't die, Beerus won't disappear. Kraz. What was my main purpose in making Belfast the Supreme Kai? Rumsey scoffed. I wanted to lie low, to have him work for me. By sealing him away, we'd have a gap in our Supreme Kai pool. Oh my, Lord Rumsey is so insightful. No wonder he's a god who's eaten wasabi. Kirsty covered her mouth, laughing uncontrollably. Rumsey's face instantly darkened. Adelaide. On a spacious platform halfway up a mountain in a deep forest, Jin stood on the edge of the cliff, gazing at the clouds below that looked like a fairyland. Lost in thought. Currently Jin is temporarily residing here. This place is the location of the cave where Bardak left the letter for Jin. Jin chose to stay here, waiting for the person she wanted to wait for. Smack. Just then, someone suddenly descended from the sky and landed next to Jin. It's Pibara. Jin stood up to greet him. I brought you some food. See if it's food that Saiyans can eat. Pibala carried a large pile of food and placed it on a stone table. Jin's beautiful eyes quickly scanned the food and noticed that there was meat, vegetables and fruit, quite a variety. I can eat anything, thank you so much, Pibara. Jin thanked her quickly. Just tell me where the food is. I'll go get it myself. The vegetables are on the other side of the forest, and the meat is in the wild animal area. You'll have to hunt for it yourself. Pibara explained to Jin in detail. I understand. Jin nodded gently. Let's put these foods aside for now, Pibala said with a smile. Today, we're holding our annual banquet in Yadrat. Would you like to come with me, Scherzer? I've been a bit bored here anyway, Jin readily agreed. The two took off and flew towards the city. As they flew, Jin suddenly realized something and abruptly looked up at the sky. However, all Jin saw was a vast, boundless sky. What's wrong, Jin? Pibala looked up at the sky but saw nothing. I feel like someone's watching me, Jin muttered to herself. Perhaps God is watching over you, Pibara laughed. God? What kind of God would pay attention to me? Jin was speechless. Have you forgotten how you came to this planet? Pibala asked with a smile. You mean that pretty Saiyan girl? Jin pondered silently. But you know what, that girl is really beautiful. It's a pity Belser is so much younger than her. Otherwise marrying her would be wonderful. Belsey. Is he your child? Pibala asked casually, startled. Yes. Jin nodded slightly, then her eyes reddened, and she said in a low voice. He was taken away by two strange guys, and we haven't heard from him since. We don't know how he is. As she spoke, Jin's voice choked with emotion. Perhaps it's a good thing, Pibara advised. High in the sky, Belsey hovered very high in the air, silently watching Jin below. However, Bel's bell did not go down immediately. Immediately afterwards, Belsey saw Jin join the grand banquet that Adradorad held once a year. Jin and the Adradora got along very well. Once I find Bardak, you can be reunited. Beryl's only wish was that Aunt Jin and Bardak would survive. Aunt Jin is now safe and sound, and she's even getting along so well with the Yadrat aliens. Letting her stay on this planet is definitely a very good choice. In the future, Ruhin Goku grows up and arrives on this planet. He will recognize Jin, although Goku might not have recognized Jin at that time. Jin definitely remembered Goku. Oh right, Bardak. What about the Bad X? Beryl searched everywhere for Bardak, but where could he find him? Does this mean that in my timeline, Bardak has already traveled back 1,000 years? After thinking about it carefully, Belsey realized that it was indeed possible. However, this doesn't stop Bell from asking Keith. Smack! A crystal ball immediately appeared in Belsel's hand, and he used it to contact Crystal. Belsey, do you see Jin? Keith asked softly, I didn't lie to you, did I? What about Bardock? Belsay asked the question he wanted to ask directly. Oh dear. This was indeed an accident, Koss said with a hint of guilt. By the time I arrived at planet Vegeta, Bardock had already entered a spacetime tunnel due to the massive energy fluctuations and disappeared into the river of time. Even for me, it would be difficult to find out which spacetime Bardock went to. However, it's certain that the spacetime Bardock went to didn't affect the other spacetimes. Which is why you only saw one spacetime ring, understood? Beryl nodded, said nothing more, and ended the call directly. Rumsey stared wide-eyed, listening intently. Rumsey was a little confused when he saw that Belsay had ended the call. You only replied with 3 words. Rumsey asked curiously. Yes, Kirsty nodded. What big move is this kid brewing up now? Rumsey couldn't help but shudder. Perhaps, Kirsten mused. Rumsey felt completely overwhelmed at that moment. Stop holding back your ultimate move. Your behavior makes me very uneasy. The two were talking. Whoosh, a figure suddenly appeared beside X. Upon seeing the sudden appearance of Belsay, Rumsey's expression became increasingly serious, even showing a hint of nervousness. Rumsey was afraid that Belsay would choose to self-destruct again. Bersai was also staring intently at Rumsey. Rumsey clenched his fists tightly. Cold sweat trickling down his face, the two remained silent. Yet their eyes seemed to spark with unspoken tension. Smack! Keith tapped Rumsey lightly on the shoulder with her scepter and gave him a wink. After a brief hesitation, Rumsey gritted his teeth and finally made up his mind. The next moment, Rumsey flew towards Belsay. Belsay slowly flew towards Rumsey. The two looked at each other again, and it was clear from their pupils that their eyes reflected each other. Sorry. Bersai and Rumsey bowed to each other simultaneously and said in unison. After he finished speaking, both Beller and Rumsey were stunned. They looked at each other, their eyes revealing genuine emotion. Snort. Immediately afterwards, seemingly to ease the awkward situation, both of them snorted and turned their heads away, not wanting to acknowledge each other. Crease. Oh dear, it's good that things are out in the open, Kirsten said, trying to smooth things over. Kid, don't keep throwing around self-destruction like that. You need to know how precious life is, Rumsey said angrily. Besides, as a god, self-destruction is forbidden. I won't self-destruct until I surpass you in strength, Belsay replied. Then you'll be the one self-destructing, kid. No matter how hard you try, you'll never surpass this god of destruction. Just give up on that idea. Rumsey wiggled his elephant trunk and rolled his eyes at Belsay. Now that you two have resolved your differences, let's head back as soon as possible, Keith suggested. Make me some dishes when you get back to calm my nerves. You little brat, do you know? What you did just now almost scared the crap out of me. Rumsey glared angrily at Belsay. Aren't you afraid I'll shove wasabi in your face? Belsay said casually, you dare. Rumsey said, hands on hips and glaring, let's go. Beryl did not object for Beryl. Knowing that Aunt Jin and Bardock were still alive was enough. Moreover, this was indeed a misunderstanding. Since Rumsey indirectly helped Kirsty save Aunt Jin, Belsay will always remember this kindness. At least in Beryl's view. Rumsey wasn't the kind of cold-blooded, ruthless destroyer, regardless of his motives for saving Aunt Jin. At least Aunt Jin survived, which made Beryl feel somewhat grateful. Even though this is the Dragon Ball world, even if Aunt Jin and Bardock are dead, they can be revived using the Dragon Balls. But who would want their family member to die? Moreover, once these Saiyans die, they will definitely go to hell in the underworld and suffer immense torment. Even if it's only for 2 short days. It's not what Belsay wants to see. As we prepared to go back, Rumsey kept giving Kirsty meaningful glances. Oh dear Lord Rumsey, please speak for yourself. There's no need for me to relay your message. Kree sighed softly. Bersay immediately turned to look at Rumsey, wanting to hear what he had to say. HMPH, never mind. Rumsey was too embarrassed to say anything, so he just snorted. Lord Rumsey was trying to tell Belial that now that you are a Supreme Kai, you have the right to bring your mother to live in our universe and find her a more suitable planet. Kirsty said helplessly on Rumsey's behalf. Rumsey, Standing to the side shook his elephant trunk and nodded. No need, Beryl thought about it seriously for a moment. Then gently shook his head, let Aunt Jin stay in Adelaide. If nothing unexpected happens, I should at least be able to meet Sun Wukong someday. Wait a moment, something seems off. I've defeated Frieza, so Goku might not go to Namek, right? Never mind, let's ignore that for now, at worst. I can just bring Aunt Jin to Earth when Goku grows up and let them meet. Right, as for the words your mother that Keith just said. Belsay naturally heard them. However, Beller didn't think much of it, in fact. Beryl already considered Aunt Jin as her adoptive mother. How could Bellsworth possibly know that he and Raditz had switched identities due to staff negligence? As a diehard Dragon Ball fan, Bells couldn't even imagine such a thing. Kid, you'd better think this through, Rumsey snorted. It's not that I don't want your mother to come to our universe. But don't choose to self-destruct again because of this. Rumsey deliberately emphasized the word mother. Don't blame me if you don't understand, I reminded you. I understand, don't worry. I value my life and won't self-destruct easily. Beryl reassured him. Rumsey. Cax, listen to what this kid is saying. What do you mean he won't easily self-destruct? You still want to self-destruct, don't you? Rumsey became a little nervous again. Oh dear, oh dear. Belsey was just joking, Lord Rumsey. You don't need to take it to heart, Kirsten chimed in again. Trying to smooth things over, then asked Belsey. Are you really not planning to bring her to our universe? She's doing well on that planet. Staying there is the best option, Beryl nodded. But speaking of which, Beryl, why didn't you acknowledge her as your sister? Kirsten asked again. Let me find Bardock first. It feels like we're playing cards and we're missing a player when we don't have enough people. Belser said thoughtfully. Kreese was speechless. There was a brief silence. It's said that this guy named Bardock got caught in a time tunnel. Even Kex doesn't know which timeline he went to. So he probably won't be easy to find. Rumsey said in a deep voice, his eyes flashing with a strange light. He then changed the subject with a chuckle. However, it's not like there's no way to find out his whereabouts. After saying that, Rumsey winked at Bercy. It was as if it meant, beg me and I'll tell you the way. Beryl paused for a moment, then silently looked at Rumsey. Is this guy referring to Super Dragon Ball? It seems there really is such a possibility, after all. Only the Dragon God knows which dimension Bardock went to. Or why not just wish for Bardock to appear in my timeline? I'll cook one of my signature dishes for you. Bersai decided to give Rumsey face. You've made it so obvious. It wouldn't be right for me not to give you face. I don't want gourmet food. You just need to work for me for a year. Rumsey didn't dare ask for too much now. Starting with a year, we can add more later, okay? Beryl nodded in agreement without the slightest hesitation. Isn't it just creating and destroying planets at the same time? It's no big deal. In my past life, I accidentally killed all my colleagues while working. In this lifetime, I will crush you gods of destruction. You can't go back on your word. Rumsey snorted, shaking his elephant trunk. No. Beryl nodded. Before you go out and destroy planets, I'll accompany you a few times to explain the rules of destruction. Once you're proficient, you'll work for me for the next year. Rumsey said excitedly. No problem, Beryl agreed. HMPH. Actually, finding out Bardock's timeline is quite simple. I heard there's something magical in Universe 6 and Universe 7. Something like the Super Dragon Balls. If you collect all 7, you can summon the Divine Dragon and get any wish from it. Rumsey grinned somewhat smugly. How about that? Pretty good, right? You just need to make a wish. And Bardock will come to our timeline or to your side. Isn't that convenient? Bercy nodded silently. It really was through Super Dragon Balls. That's what I was thinking. And their wishes were all pretty much the same, kid. You've worked for me for a year. You definitely won't lose out, Rumsey continued, waving his elephant trunk. You need to understand. These Dragon Balls are scattered throughout the 6th and 7th universes. You are Supreme Kai from the 10th universe, running around in the 7th and 6th universes, trying to find those Dragon Balls. If the gods of destruction there find out, they might not kill you, but giving you a good beating is perfectly normal. So, Lord Rumsey is planning to accompany Belsey on her quest to find the Dragon Balls. Keith asked with a smile, of course. What a disgrace I'd be if this kid got beaten up by another god of destruction. Rumsey nodded, smiled at Belizy and said, how about that? Wasn't I a good guy? You didn't lose out by working for me for a year, did you? Then let's set off immediately and go find the Super Dragon Balls right now. Belsey said impatiently. Rumsey. Once we collect all the Super Dragon Balls, I'll wish for Bardock to come to me. And then I'll go back and cook you some nice dishes. Bell suggested. You said it yourself. Rumsey hesitated for a moment, then nodded in agreement. Then I won't go. You two cooperate well and don't argue again. Kes said as she left. Rumsey did not comment. Bercy remained silent. In fact, the two of them apologizing to each other in unison just now had already resolved their grudges. Whoosh, without another word. Kes transformed into a streak of light as dazzling as a star, instantly vanishing into the starry sky and disappearing without a trace. Only Bersai and Rumsey remained at the scene. Both of them fell silent. Do you know the exact location of the Super Dragon Balls? Belsey broke the silence, looking at Rumsey and asking. Rumsey shook his head decisively, indicating that he did not know. Belsey. But I know a guy who's been collecting the Super Dragon Balls. Rumsey chuckled, smugly wagging his trunk. Who? A thought flashed through Bell's mind. Champa, the god of destruction of Universe 6. Rumsey grinned slyly. I stumbled upon him by chance when I was wandering around Universe 6 last time. What do you mean? Are you trying to steal the Super Dragon Balls from him? Belsey asked. What a rude use of the word robbery. Rumsey snorted. We stole. And since you happen to know teleportation, we could just secretly move his Super Dragon Balls away. Isn't that convenient, Belsey? Why not just use a gun? How many Dragon Balls has he collected by now? Bells asked again. I think there were 3 when I last saw him. Rumsey pondered. I reckon he's already collected all the Super Dragon Balls from Universe 6. And now he needs to collect the 4 Dragon Balls from Universe 7. But the universe is just too vast, and as you know, finding 4 Dragon Balls in such a huge universe is incredibly difficult. And how was Champa found? Beryl asked. Anyway, if you search around the universe when you have nothing else to do, you're bound to find it, Rumsey replied. Even Zunks doesn't know the exact location. Bell scratched his head. Don't bother the angels with everything. Don't you have that crystal ball too? As long as you grasp the aura of the Super Dragon Balls, you can use the crystal ball to find their exact location. Rumsey suggested. I'll give it a try, Belsey nodded. Let's go to Universe 6 first. See what the Super Dragon Balls look like. And try to memorize their aura. Rumsey naturally put his hand on Bersai's shoulder. Kaikai Belsey used teleportation. And in the blink of an eye, he and Rumsey disappeared from their original spot. Universe 7 Outer Space, Planet Frieza 1. Several of Frieza's henchmen hurriedly carried the critically injured Frieza into the treatment chamber. Beep beep glug, beep beep glug. The healing fluid in the treatment chamber was used to treat Frieza. As time went by, the wound on Frieza's chest was slowly healing. How is he? King Kurd asked the staff around him, his face cold as he looked at Frieza in the treatment pod. Fortunately, it was discovered in time, and Lord Frieza's vitality is quite strong. Otherwise, even if he had entered the treatment chamber, it would have been very difficult. The staff member immediately knelt down and answered honestly. That's good. King Kurd breathed a slight sigh of relief, then asked his henchman on the other side. Have you found out who injured Frieza? The younger brother quickly shook his head. Who on earth did this? The Kurdish king trembled violently with rage. Once Lord Frieza is healed should know. A henchman immediately and cautiously replied. The Kurdish king said nothing more and waited patiently. About 2 more hours passed. Beep beep. A notification sound came from the treatment chamber indicating that the treatment was complete. Smack! Frieza immediately opened his eyes, unleashing a powerful aura. Snap! Instantly, the entire treatment chamber shattered, and the treatment fluid spilled all over the floor. Frieza emerged from the treatment chamber with a cold expression, his eyes filled with boundless killing intent. Bang! Frieza was enraged. He swung his tail powerfully and slammed it heavily onto the ground. A long crack immediately appeared in the ground, and several of the henchmen nearby were swept into it by the crack. Frieza, who did this? King Kurd asked, looking at Frieza. He said he was a god. Frieza gritted his teeth in hatred. Clenching his fists tightly, his body trembling violently. God, what god? Kurd was a little confused. I don't know either. But if I ever see him again, I'll beat him to a pulp. Frieza grinned. You didn't even have time to transform before he ambushed you. Did you? Kurd understood. Yes, Dad, I'd better not see him. Frieza said, his voice filled with hatred. As they were talking, a golden light suddenly appeared in the sky. In just a moment, the entire sky was dyed gold. Frieza paused for a moment, then immediately looked up at the sky. The Kurds also looked up at the sky, completely bewildered as to what was happening. The sky on Frieza's first planet is pale gray. I've never seen a sky this golden before. What happened? Kurd immediately asked his underling. Your Majesty, King Kurd, Your Excellency Frieza. A golden planet has been discovered, moving rapidly through outer space. A technician reported, a golden planet. Kurd was completely bewildered. No golden planets have been found near Planet 1. Where did this planet come from, Your Majesty? According to the data from our probes, this golden planet is quite strange. It's crystal clear and there's a red star inside. The technician quickly replied. We've never seen such a strange planet before. There's a red star inside the planet. Kurd was also a little puzzled and quickly issued an order to the technicians. Investigate thoroughly, however. Just as Kurd finished speaking, the golden planet left a trail in the sky and quickly disappeared without a trace. The speed was so fast that even the Kurds were caught off guard. Even Frieza stared with his triangular eyes, completely bewildered by the situation. Frieza suddenly realized that the planet was moving at a speed far exceeding that of the spaceship. Go and find out where that golden planet went. Frieza ordered his subordinates. The vast starry sky, the boundless universe. Belsi had already appeared in the starry sky of Universe 7 with Rumsey. Then Bels and Rumsey saw Champa, the god of destruction, rushing forward at high speed while carrying the Super Dragon Ball. That's the Super Dragon Ball. Rumsey pointed to the one-star Super Dragon Ball, facing the Bell circuit. Belsi naturally recognized the Super Dragon Balls, so there wasn't much to say, however. Watching that Super Dragon Ball here now does indeed evoke a sense of awe. That Dragon Ball is way too big, it's at least as big as Earth. Such a huge Super Dragon Ball was carried at high speed through space by that guy Champa. Compared to the enormous Super Dragon Ball, Champa, the god of destruction, is nothing more than a tiny ant. It's hard to imagine that Champa, which is only the size of a small ant, could travel through space carrying the Super Dragon Balls. He's Champa, the god of destruction. Stop him. You go to the other side and touch the Super Dragon Balls, sensing their auras. See if you can find the other Super Dragon Balls. Rumsey quickly suggested to Belsi, adding, right now. It's best not to let Champa find you. If he knows you're collecting the Super Dragon Balls, he'll be wary and hide the ones he's worked so hard to collect. Okay, Beryl nodded in agreement. Whoosh. Rumsey transformed into a fiery red streak of light and sped off towards Champa. Bersy remained where he was, waiting for Rumsey to cover for him. Rumsey was incredibly fast and soon caught up with Champa, appearing directly in front of him and blocking his path. Champa was taken aback, his expression changing slightly. I was so focused on getting there that I didn't even sense this guy's presence. What a blunder. This guy discovered such a huge Super Dragon Ball. This is terrible, isn't this, Champa? I knew this planet was flying ridiculously fast. So it was you controlling it. Rumsey laughed and greeted Champa. Rumsey, what are you doing in Universe 7? You're not welcome here, get back to your Universe 10. Champa snorted. You talk like you're some kind of god of destruction from Universe 7. Rumsey sneered, retorting to Champa. Champa was immediately silenced, however. Champa quickly retorted through gritted teeth. No matter what. Universe 6 and Universe 7 are brother universes. And Beerus and I are brothers. You treat Beerus like a brother. But does he treat you like a brother? Rumsey retorted. Alright, stop with the nonsense, what are you doing here? I have nothing to say to you, Champa snorted. Afraid that Rumsey would find out about the Super Dragon Balls. It's nothing. I just saw a golden planet flying by and came over out of curiosity. Rumsey said casually. HMPH, curiosity killed the cat. Champa rolled his eyes at Rumsey. Don't talk about yourself like that. Rumsey laughed so hard that snot bubbles were coming out of his nose. Zayingpa. But speaking of which, this planet looks pretty strange. Is there something special about it? Rumsey asked with a smile. Examining the Super Dragon Balls, well, it's nothing special. I just think this planet is quite beautiful. So I'm bringing it back to my God of Destruction realm to decorate my planet. Champa said quickly, a sudden idea forming in his mind. Oh, it's just a decorative planet. It does look quite nice, Rumsey nodded in approval. Meanwhile, while Rumsey and Champa were chatting, Belsey quietly used instant transmission and carefully landed on the ground of the Super Dragon Ball. Bels placed his hand on the ground, silently sensing the aura emanating from the Super Dragon Ball. Sensing the special aura emanating from the Super Dragon Balls, Belsey waved to Rumsey from afar. Rumsey raised his elephant trunk high and pointed in a certain direction. I'm leaving, I have nothing to talk to you about. Rumsey snorted and turned to leave. HMPH, as if I'd like to chat with you. Champa made a face at Rumsey and continued speeding towards Universe 6 with the Super Dragon Balls. As they continued their journey, Champa noticed that Rumsey wasn't following, and his anxiety subsided. Thankfully, Rumsey didn't suspect the Golden Planet. He probably doesn't know about the Super Dragon Balls. Right, Rumsey, however, took a detour halfway and met up with Belly. So, have you been able to locate the other Dragon Balls? Rumsey asked. I'll give it a try, Beryl said thoughtfully. Smack. A crystal ball immediately appeared in Bellison's hand and floated in space. Immediately afterwards, Belsey aimed his hands at the crystal ball. Muttering incantations, about 5 or 6 seconds passed. Whoosh, the image flashed in the crystal ball, revealing a yellowish-brown planet. HMPH, your crystal ball still needs some honing. How did it manage to locate a yellowish-brown planet? Rumsey rolled his eyes at Belsey. Let's go take a look. Belsey suggested, putting his hand on Rumsey's shoulder. Rumsey's face darkened. You have absolutely no manners, kid. He actually put his hand on my shoulder. However, Rumsey didn't say much. Whoosh. Belsey and Rumsey used teleportation, disappearing from their original positions in the blink of an eye. Planet Frieza 1. After more than half an hour of detailed investigation, the technicians found nothing. Nothing was found. Because the Super Dragon Balls are so fast, they disappeared in a flash. It's fair to say that with Frieza's level of technology, they couldn't even achieve the positioning of the Super Dragon Balls, let alone investigate them. Forget it, let's ignore it for now, Frieza said coldly. Having lost interest in the Super Dragon Ball, Frieza's greatest desire right now is revenge. Get revenge on that self-proclaimed god. Next time I find you, I'll definitely transform into my second form and beat you to a pulp. That guy is absolutely despicable. Any god other than a god of destruction is no match for our race. Kurd's face grew increasingly grim. Next time I see him, I'll beat the crap out of him. I'll show him who the real god is. Frieza gritted his teeth in hatred. Outer space. Belsey, along with Rumsey, used teleportation to appear in the starry sky where the ochre-colored planet was located. Kid, what did you bring me here for? Rumsey snorted irritably. Didn't I tell you? You've got the location completely wrong. If this yellowish-brown planet were a Super Dragon Ball, I'd eat it right now, boom, without wasting any words. Belsey waved his hand sharply, and a massive amount of energy in his hand quickly covered the planet. With a deafening roar, the earthen-yellow planet shuddered violently. Instantly, layers of dust were shaken off the surface of the yellowish-brown planet, revealing a golden light. At the moment the golden light flashed, 4 red stars appeared faintly visible. This is a 4-star Super Dragon Ball. Rumsey's expression froze instantly. his face looking worse than if he'd eaten shit. This is so awkward. Rumsey never imagined that the Super Dragon Balls would be covered by the Earth and turned into an inconspicuous yellowish-brown planet. Cough, cough, cough. Kid, you're really something. You even managed to find the Dragon Balls that were covered in Earth. Rumsey quickly laughed it off, trying to ease the awkward atmosphere. Bersai didn't hold a grudge against Rumsey. You want him to go eat that planet now? If we anger this guy, he might destroy the Super Dragon Balls. That's something Belsey doesn't want to see either. After all, Belsai was still waiting to use the Super Dragon Balls to summon Bardock to his side. Let's hurry up and find the other Super Dragon Balls, Rumsey suggested. Bels nodded, then conjured up another crystal ball to locate the other Super Dragon Ball. Less than 10 seconds passed again. Smack. A 3-star Super Dragon Ball appeared inside the crystal ball. Immediately afterwards, Belsay and Rumsey landed on the ground where the 4-star Super Dragon Ball had just been, and placed their hands on the ground. Kai Kai. Belsai used teleportation and disappeared from the spot in the blink of an eye. Rumsey, then, when Belsai appeared near the Samsung Super Dragon Ball, he found that he was the only one who had come. Rumsey and the 4-star Super Dragon Ball did not come along. Bels looked around, then immediately used instant transmission to return to the land of the 4-star Dragon Ball. Can't this be taken away by teleportation? Belsey asked Rumsey. Bersey felt this shouldn't be happening because, according to Belsian, the Dragon Ball Super storyline, Zamasu used instant transmission to collect all 7 Super Dragon Balls. Incidentally, it's worth mentioning that Zamasu first consulted the sage Zuno of Universe 7 before learning the exact location of the 7 Super Dragon Balls. After all, Zamasu hadn't learned how to use the crystal ball at that time. The problem is, if Zamasu can take the Super Dragon Balls away with instant transmission, why can't I? Kid, your teleportation skills are still a bit lacking, Rumsey said, shaking his elephant trunk in exasperation. Something the size of a planet can't even move with you. Looks like you still need to hone your teleportation skills. Bersey remained silent. Rumsey's statement seems to make a lot of sense, actually. Thinking about it now, we don't need to collect these 7 Super Dragon Balls at all. Rumsey chuckled, suddenly having an idea. How so? Bersey asked. Isn't Champa the guy who's been searching for those 7 Super Dragon Balls? Rumsey grinned slyly. We just need to hide one of them. And once he's collected all 6, we'll figure out a way to steal them all. Then we can grant your wish. That's called solving the problem once and for all. Bersai had to admire Rumsey's ingenious idea, indeed. This is a very good method. But it's easy to offend the god of destruction. However, this is the only option left to bring Bardock, who appeared 1,000 years ago, to his side. Only the Super Dragon Balls can do it. Neither Earth's Dragon Balls nor Namek's Dragon Balls can. It'll take Champa at least several more days to collect all 7 Dragon Balls. Use that time to thoroughly master instant transmission, Rumsey suggested. You should at least be able to easily teleport to a planet. Okay, let's go back first. Belsay thought about it seriously and also felt that this kind of thing couldn't be rushed right now. Based on the current timeline, Bardock has only been back 1,000 years in the past for 2 days. It's not too late to summon Bardock back once he can transform into a Super Saiyan. Go back and have Kes keep a close eye on the Super Dragon Ball's movements. Rumsey immediately placed his hand on Belsey's shoulder and instructed. Go back now. Belsey didn't take it to heart, muttering to himself as he planned to take Rumsey back to the god of destruction's realm in Universe 10. However, just as Belsbel was about to leave, Rumsey spoke again. Hey kid, how about I take you somewhere else to have some fun? Rumsey chuckled, a somewhat sinister smile on his face. Where to? Belser temporarily halted his return to the god of destruction realm. I'll take you to other universes to broaden your horizons. Rumsey grinned. Isn't this Universe 7? Belsey replied. Rumsey, Universe 7 is where you were born. Besides this universe, there are other universes. Rumsey replied with a dark expression, for example. Belsay asked, "Let me take you for a tour of Universe 9. Rumsey suggested. "I still need to hone my teleportation skills." Bell said speechlessly. Instant teleportation requires frequent travel over greater distances to achieve optimal results. Rumsey said, waving his elephant trunk. "If you return to our 10th universe and continue cultivating in that alternate dimension, you definitely won't make much progress. It's better to step outside your own universe and explore other universes. You'll gain far greater rewards that way." "What you said seems to make sense." Belsey nodded seriously in agreement. "Then let's go to Universe 9. Where in Universe 9 should we go? The world of destruction or the world of the Supreme Kai?" "The realm of destruction. You know the exact location, right?" Rumsey asked. "I know, Kex explained it to me." Belsey replied, glancing towards the direction of Universe 9. "All right, let's go then." Rumsey smiled with satisfaction. Kai. Without hesitation, Belsey immediately used instant transmission with Rumsey, disappearing from their spot in the blink of an eye. In an instant, Belser appeared in the God of Destruction realm of Universe 9 with Rumsey, Majitoth, Angel of Universe 9, and Sidara, the God of Destruction, were both slightly taken aback when they saw the two appear. "Isn't this Lord Rumsey? It's been a long time." Angel Mojito greeted him with a smile. "Oh, it's Rumsey. What brings you here?" Sidara snorted, seemingly not very fond of Rumsey. Belsey looked toward Sidara. Sidara is depicted as an old man with dark green skin-red hair and a beard when Belser looked at Sidara. Sidara also glanced in his direction, however. Sidara only glanced at him before immediately shifting his gaze back to Rumsey, clearly showing little interest in Belsey. It's likely that Sidara has already figured it out. Belsey is a Supreme Kai. "I came to visit you, aren't you welcome?" Rumsey wiggled his elephant trunk and grinned slyly. "Not welcome, I have nothing to do with you." Sidara rolled her eyes at Rumsey, seemingly not very fond of him. "Say that, Sidara." Rumsey stepped forward and patted Sidara on the shoulder. Sidara immediately raised his hand to block Rumsey's arm, saying irritably, "Stop trying to get on my good side. If you have something to say it otherwise. Go back to your 10th universe." Bersey remained silent. "You said you wanted to take me out to broaden my horizons. I have a feeling that they don't like you at all." It seems that Champa doesn't really like Rumsey either. "Actually, the main reason I came here this time is to introduce you to the new Supreme Kai of our universe." Rumsey chuckled and pointed at Belizy. "The former Supreme Kai is dead." Cedar stroked his red beard and asked with a gloating expression. "He's retired." Rumsey's face darkened. "I thought it was dead." "That's why the melons are sweeter," Sidara snorted. Mohi, standing to the side, was also holding his forehead, utterly defeated by the conversation between these two gods of destruction. Just as Sidara finished speaking, bang, suddenly, Rumsey delivered a spectacular side kick, striking Sidara squarely in the stomach. "Ow!" With a scream, Sidara was caught off guard and sent flying backward. Boom. Sidara's body crashed into the castle where he lived. The castle collapsed, burying Sidara inside. After doing all this, Rumsey strode forward and quickly grabbed Beller's arm. Whoosh! Immediately afterwards, Rumsey took to the air with Belsey, instantly appearing high above the God of Destruction realm. Looking down at Sidara lying in the ruins, Bersey was completely baffled by Rumsey's bizarre actions. "What do you want to do?" "Sidara, what class do you belong to stand next to me?" Rumsey's voice came down from the air, his expression becoming increasingly smug. "Belsey, isn't this something I've already done before? Why did you use that on him? You be ****D. Rumsey, I'll never forgive you." Sidara roared in fury, leaping into the air. "Cover your ears," Rumsey ordered Belsey. Beryl hesitated for a moment, but ultimately pretended to cover his ears. Buzz. Seeing Sidara rushing towards him, Rumsey suddenly let out a deafening shout. The voice, carrying boundless power, swiftly enveloped Sidara. Sidaraho had just charged forward, turned pale and was stunned by Rumsey's roar. Sidara plummeted from the sky, crashing once more into the ruins of the castle and leaving a large crater in the ground. The entire castle collapsed instantly. Completely destroyed. Quick, get out of here. Rumsey called out to Belsay. Beryl felt his mentality was starting to crumble. You said you were bringing me here to broaden my horizons. But it turns out you just wanted to ambush the god of destruction of Universe 9. You're really something. As for Rumsey's roar just now, it made Belsay truly feel the power of a god of destruction. Although Rumsey's roar wasn't directed at Belizy was still somewhat affected. Just now, Belsay's body was nearly shattered into pieces. However, Beryl's body quickly reformed. As expected of a god of destruction, even a casual move from him is difficult for an ordinary Supreme Kai to withstand. I still need to cultivate myself more, Kai. Belsay muttered incantations, preparing to teleport away. Supreme Kaio. You stop right there, Sidara roared in fury. Especially when he saw Belsay about to use instant transmission. Belsay, what does this have to do with me? Why the hell are you pointing at me, Supreme Kaio? If you dare to use instant transmission to take Rumsey away, I'll never forgive you. Sidara's voice came from below again, filled with endless threat. Are you out of your mind? You two are fighting, don't drag me into it. Beryl said irritably. Sidara, come find me anytime you dare. If you dare to mess with my Supreme Kai, I'll mess with your Supreme Kai, Rumsey snorted. Rumsey, if you're a god of destruction, then stay here and fight. Sidara shouted, come and hit me. Rumsey's elephant trunk swayed infuriatingly, and he even made a face at Sidara. Sidara was furious and was adjusting his body angle, preparing to shoot into the sky. Hurry up, Rumsey whispered to Belsay. Belsay ignored Sidara and immediately used instant transmission. Whoosh, Belsay and Rumsey vanished from the spot. Just as Belsay and Rumsey disappeared, Sidara transformed into a cannonball, instantly passing right through the spot where they vanished. However, Sidara was ultimately a step too late and missed his target. You be ********** D. Rumsey, you just wait, I'm not done with you. Sidara roared in fury, leaping and raging high in the sky. Slap, 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 then. Sidara destroyed several planets before gradually calming down and slowly landing on the ground. Majitadity up the whole planet. Sidara ordered Mojito gruffly. Why is Lord Sidara doing this? Mojito sighed. That be ******* D. Rumsey, I'll never forgive him. Sidara trembled with rage. Thinking about it, it's no wonder Sidara was angry. It's mainly because Rumsey is so infuriating. Taking him by surprise, she kicked him away. You kicked him away from him, but then you had to add, what kind of class do you have to be standing next to me? What level is it? I'm the god of destruction. Sidara grew angrier the more he thought about it, and wished he could go and settle the score with Rumsey right now. However, the thought of flying for at least several hours from here to the 10th universe gave Sidara a headache. Furthermore, Sidara doesn't get along well with the Supreme Kai of his own universe. Sidara felt it was unlikely that he would ask the Supreme Kai of his own universe to help him solve his personal problems. When did Universe 10 change its Supreme Kai? Sidara asked. It must have been changed recently. Mojito said to Sidara as he used his scepter to repair the castle. Just you wait, I won't let you get away with this. Sidara clenched his fists tightly, his body trembling violently, his beard shaking with rage. The 10th universe, outer space, in the blink of an eye. Belsay returned to Universe 10 with Rumsey. Belsay was speechless at Rumsey's actions. Is this what you meant by expanding my horizons? Belsay asked, just trying to make me a target. I've had my eye on that guy for ages, this is so satisfying. Rumsey laughed heartily. Snot bubbles flying from his nose. Don't worry, I'm here. If he dares to mess with you, I'll beat him to a pulp. Belsay, let's go back. Rumsey patted Belsay on the shoulder. This place is very close to the realm of the gods of destruction. You should go back first. I need to continue honing my teleportation skills. Belsay said to Rumsey. Alright, you should hone your skills. Rumsey nodded, not objecting. When you're able to control the Super Dragon Balls, come back to me and I'll go with you. Belsay did not respond. Whatever you do, Don't try to steal the Dragon Balls yourself. Rumsey warned repeatedly. Your teleportation speed may be fast, but as a god of destruction, they could easily knock you down before you can even move. Understood. Beryl's expression hardened and he nodded. Bersai didn't think there was anything seriously wrong with Rumsey's words. Although the Supreme Kai can use instant transmission, if the god of destruction is fast enough, they can completely interrupt your spellcasting before you can even use instant transmission. This is also why the Supreme Kai of Universe 7 didn't use instant transmission to escape during his battle with Majin Buu. Of course, there's also the issue of the Supreme Kai of Universe 7 being relatively weak. Moreover, teleportation is not completed in an instant when the spell is cast. However, Beryl clearly felt that his teleportation skill was not yet fully maxed out. Just like adding skill points in a game, this skill also has higher levels. Perhaps once it reaches the highest level, it will be very difficult for the god of destruction to interrupt it. I'm gone, Beryl said, instantly disappearing from the spot using teleportation. Rumsey's body erupted with crimson flames, transforming into a streak of light as he sped towards the realm of the god of destruction. In less than 30 seconds, Rumsey descended from the sky and returned to the land of the god of destruction. Cluck cluck. The prophecy bird had just made a clucking sound like a hen laying an egg when Rumsey grabbed its head. Immediately afterwards, Rumsey grabbed the prophecy bird's body and wiped his nose with its feathers. Then, Rumsey casually tossed the prophecy bird aside with a flourish. The prophetic bird tumbled to the ground, its body ablaze with flames, its feathers bristling, and it was filled with uncontrollable rage. Oh dear Lord, Rumsey is back. How did things go? Kes glanced in the direction of the prophecy bird, seemingly used to it, and directly asked Rumsey about the outcome. That kid's mastery of instant transmission isn't good enough. He can't take away a Dragon Ball the size of a planet. Rumsey said, wiggling his elephant trunk. Yes, eyes. After all, training time is too shortly a year. Keith nodded. Right now, Bery's teleportation can handle some basic tasks without much trouble. But to move an entire planet still needs more practice. So he went to hone his skills on his own. And we'll talk again when he's had enough, Rumsey said. Waving his hand. Very well, said Keith with a smile. It seems Lord Rumsey and Beryl have completely resolved their differences. Rumsey remained silent. I hope Lord Rumsey and Beryl will cooperate well and develop the 10th universe together. Kree said with a smile. What a joke. I made him the Supreme Kai of our 10th universe. Just so I can lie low. I have no interest in going out to work. I just want to lie low for a while, a year. Even if it's only a year. Rumsey said to Kreese with a serious expression. Kreese sighed softly but didn't say anything more. Universe 7, a certain planet, Vegeta Napper Raditz, and Poroko are currently on this planet. Previously, when Q was slapped so hard by Beryl that his head spun around his neck several times. It had already shocked Vegeta and the others. The group searched for a long time, but still couldn't find any trace of Beryl. Beryl, where are you? Poroko asked anxiously, looking around. What a strange guy, where did he learn such bizarre skills? Raditz was a little puzzled. Lord Vegeta, where do we go next? Nappa asked Vegeta, who was standing nearby. Let's take good care of this planet first, Vegeta ordered. Yes, Prince Vegeta. Nappa nodded respectfully immediately. Then asked with some unease. But we killed Frieza's henchman, will we be alright? HMPH, it's no big deal. That guy named Q came here to die on his own. Vegeta snorted, but speaking of which, Prince Vegeta. Was that guy who appeared earlier really Versailles? Isn't he your cook? Nappa chuckled, unable to resist asking. However, the moment Naba finished speaking, the space around them rippled. Whoosh. Beryl used instant transmission, and his figure gradually appeared. Appearing beside Vegeta and the others, Naba was startled. His smile froze on his face, and he involuntarily took a step back. Beryl. Poroko was both surprised and delighted, and immediately rushed towards Beryl. Hugging him tightly, Beryl said, Bodo, let me go first. Beryl Circuit, I'll say it again. My name is Poroko, not Bodo as you said. Boroko said angrily, biting her lip. Understood. Beryl nodded. Prajna was speechless. You always say you know. But you still call me by the wrong name. Are you really Bels, our family's chef? Vegeta looked Bels up and down and asked. Bodo, do you want to go with Vegeta's team or with me? Belsai ignored Vegeta and instead asked Boroko beside him. Of course I'll follow you. Boroko was taken aback, but answered without the slightest hesitation. Then let's go. Beryl nodded. My name is Bo Ryukiyi, don't call me by the wrong name again. Bo Ryukiyi pouted, looking sullen. Whoosh. Without saying a word, Belsai used teleportation again, disappearing from the spot in the blink of an eye. Vegeta and the others were completely bewildered in the wind. Where did this guy go again? And it wasn't just him who disappeared this time. He also took Boroko with him. Vegeta and the others quickly searched the vicinity, but there was no sign of Versailles or Boroko. That's really strange. When did Belizy learn such an amazing skill? Raditz exclaimed in shock. HMPH, how dare he ignore me? His attitude really annoyed me, Vegeta snorted. Next time I see him, I won't hesitate to teach him a lesson. Raditz and Nappa both glanced silently in Vegeta's direction, speechless for a moment. Beryl could have nearly killed Kyuyi with a single slap. You fought Kyuyi for a short while, and you were almost instantly killed by him. Where do you get the confidence to repair Belly, Raditz? Are you sure that guy really is the Belsi who grew up in your family? Naba still couldn't quite believe it. Probably. I don't know why he became so powerful, but the detector shows his combat power is only 0. Raditz pointed to his detector. In other words, detectors aren't omnipotent. Some energies might be undetectable, Vegeta scoffed, glancing sideways at Raditz. There's still energy that the detectors can't detect. Raditz was taken aback. Naba also looked bewildered and pressed the button on the detector. Sensing it briefly, of course nothing can be sensed. There's nothing to explain. Vegeta didn't want to waste any more words. Whoosh. With Beryl in tow, they used teleportation and appeared on a large planet in the blink of an eye. This planet has a blue Earth, 3 suns in the sky, and the air is somewhat stuffy. Upon arriving on this planet, Boroko immediately looked around in surprise and asked hastily, where is this? This doesn't seem to be the planet we were on before. It is worth mentioning that Boroko did not wear a detector on her eyes. After all, detectors were not standard equipment in this era, and not every combatant was qualified to be equipped with one. However, more than 20 years later, with the continuous advancement of technology, every member of Frieza's army was equipped with a detector. This is Namek, Belser said to Poroko. The reason I brought Borokoi along is because she was Belsei's best friend on planet Vegeta. If you were to ask who Belsa's best friend was at the same age, besides Poraka, there was no one else. Now that I have become a godif, I don't take Prajnakai with me. Who else can I take with me? Let her come with me to gain experience, Namek. Poroko was stunned, her eyes wide, and she was speechless for a moment. Let's go. Bersi took to the air. Bo Ryukiya stood there stunned, unable to recover for a long time. Seeing that Belsei had already flown far away, Boroko immediately gave chase. He heard of this planet. Polakoi said to Bell Racer. They say the Namekians on this planet possess very special abilities. Not bad, Beryl nodded. However, the planet we just visited is so far from Namek. Even by spaceship it would take several days to get here. How did you get here in an instant and even bring me with you? Boroko blinked her big eyes and asked in surprise. This technique is called teleportation. It allows you to instantly travel to any place you want to go. Bell Seidel explained simply. Boroko stared wide-eyed, again, her small mouth agape. Lost in thought. Instant teleportation, that's amazing. You suddenly disappeared before. Did you also use teleportation to leave? Bo Ryukiyi asked again. Yes, Beryl nodded. Where did you go? Bo Ryuk asked curiously. I have some errands to run. Belsei didn't explain much, and gradually increased the speed of the flight. As Belsei continued to accelerate, Boroko suddenly found it a bit difficult to catch up. Even with all her energy, Boroko still couldn't catch up with Belsei. Beryl turned to look at Borokoi and extended his hand to her. Barocco immediately took Beryl's soft little hand in hers. Belsay quickened his pace with Borokoi. Belsay, I have so much to say to you. I also want to ask you, what's wrong with your body? Why did you suddenly grow so tall? Barocco asked curiously. I'll tell you later. Right now we have something very important to do. Beryl smiled back, what are you going to do? Ryuk asked, taken aback, we're almost there. Belsay pointed to a towering cliff in the distance. What is that place? There looks like a house on the cliff. Do Namekians live there? Barocco blinked. Then slapped her forehead, suddenly realizing, I know. You want to conquer this planet, don't you, Bodo? Stop thinking about conquering other people's planets. Belser said seriously. The Saiyan's demise is largely related to this. Wasn't our Saiyan planet destroyed by a giant meteorite impact? Barocco asked, startled again. What does that have to do with conquering someone else's planet? Having done too many bad things, you will be punished by God sooner or later. Beryl sighed slightly, God's punishment. Barocco didn't quite understand, what God? God of destruction, Belser explained simply. You'll find out later, anyway, Bodo, remember. Be a little more polite to the people of this planet. And don't be so quick to threaten violence, okay? Wait, could you please not call me by the wrong name? Ryuk said angrily. Why don't you change your name to Bodo? Belsay suggested. Ryuk, no, I don't want to change my name. Barocco waved her little fists and punched Belsay, whoosh. The next moment Belsay, holding Borokoi's little hand, descended from the sky and landed on the platform of the high cliff. Appearing at the door of the room, click. The door lifted off the ground and opened upwards. Immediately afterwards, two Namekians, one large and one small, emerged from the room. The largest Namekians are at least 3 meters tall. Even the smallest Namekians are over 1.7 meters tall. Wow, it's huge. Barocco looked at the Namekian who was 3 meters tall with some surprise. The Namekian who was about 3 meters tall was the Namekian Grand Elder. Although the current Elder is old and frail, he is more robust than he would be 20 years later. At least for now, he can still walk upright. When Sun Wukong and his companions arrived on Namek, the Grand Elder was already in his twilight years and could only sit in his chair awaiting death. The Namekian standing next to the Grand Elder is Nail, the only combat-type Namekian on this planet. Greetings, Lord King of the Realm. The Grand Elder immediately bowed to Belial upon seeing him. Neru quickly followed suit and bowed as well. Ryuk was stunned, blinking rapidly, completely unable to react. What's the meaning? Why did these two Namekians bow to Bel? Also, why do they address Belial as Lord Kai? What is King Kai? Get up. Belsay stepped forward and personally helped the elder to his feet, then raised his hand from a distance, and an invisible divine force acted on Neru. Neru's body involuntarily straightened up, feeling the powerful energy acting on him. Neru was deeply shocked, as expected of the King of the Realms. With just a wave of my hand, my body straightened up. Thank you, Lord Kai. The Grand Elder replied respectfully and then asked, is there anything I can help you with on Namek, Lord Kai? I am not the King of the Realms. Belsay smiled and shook his head. The Grand Elder was slightly taken aback. Neru also looked up at Belsay. I am the Supreme Kai. Belial declared, revealing his identity. The Supreme Kai. The Grand Elder's expression changed repeatedly, and his demeanor became even more respectful than before. Elder, what is a Supreme Kai? Nail asked in a low voice from the side, SHH. The Elder immediately lowered his voice and shushed Neru, signaling him to be polite. Ryuk, standing to the side, was even more confused. Originally, even King Kai didn't know what kind of god Prajna was, let alone the Supreme Kai. I've long heard that the kings of the universe are the greatest gods in the universe, divided into 4 kings of the east, west, south, and north, each responsible for governing the universe in one of these 4 directions. The Grand Elder said with deep emotion and utmost respect. And above the 4 kings of the universe, there is a Grand King of the universe. Isn't the Supreme Kai God a god above the Grand Kings of the universe? That's right, exactly, Beryl nodded. Greetings, Supreme Kai, I was rude just now. The Grand Elder said, about to kneel down and kowtow. Beryl helped the Grand Elder to his feet and said calmly, "Grand Elder, there's no need for such formalities." The Grand Elder bowed in gratitude once more. The shock in Neru's eyes was beyond words. So this is the Supreme Kai, whose rank is even higher than that of the Supreme Kai. Barocco stared wide-eyed, never expecting that Belser had become a god. Moreover, he was a very great god. Judging from what this elder said, it seems that Belser's divine position is still quite high. I wonder what important matter brings the Supreme Kai to Namek. The Grand Elder asked somewhat nervously. I'm here to find the Dragon Balls, could you lend me yours? Belsi asked politely, so it's the Dragon Balls. Since Lord Supreme Kai needs the Dragon Balls, we'll certainly offer them to you without hesitation. The Grand Elder breathed a slight sigh of relief and readily agreed. Then politely extended an invitation. Lord Supreme Kai, please come inside. Nail, go make some tea. Yes, Elder. Neru bowed. Have a seat outside. Belsay didn't seem inclined to enter the room. Instead, he waved his hand, instantly conjuring a table and chairs on the ground. Beryl sat down in the chair. Ryukiyi was somewhat at a loss, unsure whether to sit or stand. The main reason was that Poroko was shocked by Bel's identity as a Supreme Kai. When did Belizi become a god? What kind of god is the Supreme Kai? Poroko had many questions to ask, but it wasn't convenient to ask them in front of the Namekians. Bodo, sit down, Belser said to Boroko. Boroko nodded vigorously and sat down next to Belsay. Elder, please don't be so polite, please have a seat as well. Belsay said with a smile. Yes, Supreme Kai, then I won't stand on ceremony. The Grand Elder glanced at the large chair in the room, nodded somewhat flattered, and sat down awkwardly opposite Belial. It's worth mentioning that one of the chairs that Belser just conjured was specially prepared for the Grand Elder. It was large and spacious, and quite suitable for the Grand Elder's physique. If the Grand Elder were to sit in the seat where Belser was sitting, he might just collapse the seat at this moment. Nero personally brewed the tea and placed it on the table with both hands. The elder held the teacup with both hands and poured tea for Beryl. Beryl took it, tasted it, and thought it tasted pretty good. The elder then poured tea for Ryukiyi. Ryu quickly took it with both hands, her eyes blinking rapidly. For Ryukiyi, today was quite an eye-opening experience. Before this, Poroko had fought alongside Vegeta and the others. She had never received such treatment before. Most of the time once we arrive on the other side's planet, we immediately start fighting. Ryukiyi suddenly felt that the tea she drank today was the best she had tasted in the past 6 years. Lord Supreme Kai, I have already informed the elders of the villages. They will be sending the Dragon Balls over soon. But it will take about an hour, as the farthest village is at least an hour away. The first elder said respectfully to Belial. Elder, should I go and fetch Elder Muley? Neru immediately bowed and asked in a low voice, all right. If you go, you can gather all 7 Dragon Balls half an hour earlier. The Grand Elder nodded slightly in agreement. However, just as Neru was about to set off, no need for that, Beryl suddenly spoke up. The Grand Elder was slightly taken aback. Neru looked at Berset with some confusion. Boroko sipped her tea, glancing at Belsay with a puzzled look, wondering what he was up to. If you don't mind, I'll collect the Dragon Balls myself, Belser said with a smile. Does Lord Supreme Kai intend to collect the Dragon Balls himself? The Grand Elder was completely bewildered, then quickly explained, I believe Lord Supreme Kai knows. The Dragon Balls of Namek are kept separately by 6 elders. There's no need to trouble Lord Supreme Kai. They will deliver the Dragon Balls immediately. Within half an hour at most. What I mean is, there's no need for all that trouble. Beryl said with a smile, I can do it myself. Do it yourself? The Grand Elder was taken aback. Smack. With a slight upward movement of his right hand, several glittering Dragon Balls appeared in his palm. In less than 5 or 6 seconds, 7 Dragon Balls appeared in Belsai's hand. Each Dragon Ball was the size of a basketball, hovering above Belsay's small hand and slowly rotating. The Grand Elder was stunned, his face showing utter astonishment. As expected of the Supreme Kai, He collected all 7 Dragon Balls from Namek with just a wave of his hand. Is this the Dragon Ball? Barocco blinked, looking at the Dragon Balls with some confusion, and asked curiously Belsi. Are these used as weapons in battle, Belsi? The elder secretly wiped his sweat. This little girl is really good at talking. Neru glanced helplessly at Barocco. Your idea is quite strange, Bodo. What is your wish? Belsi asked Borokoi softly. Wish, what does that mean? Bo-ryuki, you didn't quite understand, young lady Bodo. If we collect all 7 of the Namekian Dragon Balls, we can summon the divine dragon Porunga, who can grant you any 3 wishes. The elder coughed and gave a brief explanation. Like making a wish upon a shooting star? Barocco asked. Startled and confused, then suddenly realized, wait. My name isn't Bodo, my name is Barocco, all right. Miss Barocco. This is different from wishing upon a shooting star. Porunga can really help you fulfill your wish. The Grand Elder was taken aback, then smiled awkwardly and answered again. Bodo, think about your wish yourself. Belser said to Barocco, then turned his gaze to the Grand Elder. The Elder's expression immediately became respectful. Elder, I have a question for you, Belser asked. Lord Supreme, please speak. The Grand Elder said, hastily rising to his feet. After the dragon appears, can people from a very distant planet come and make a wish? Belser asked. Well, there's no precedent for this, but it shouldn't be a big problem. The Elder replied after a moment's thought. Then please summon the dragon, Belser said calmly. Yes, Supreme Kai. The Grand Elder bowed again and personally summoned Shenron in Namek. As the Elder uttered a strange sound, golden light suddenly emanated from the 7 Dragon Balls. In the blink of an eye, golden light shone brightly, and the sky instantly darkened. Ah! It's getting dark, Bo-ryuki exclaimed. Whoosh! A golden beam of light shot into the sky, seemingly piercing through the clouds. The next moment, a chubby green dragon appeared in the night sky. The dragon was as tall as a 100-story building, like a colossal creature, looking down at Bells and the others. Upon seeing this scene, Bo-ryuki opened her small mouth and couldn't close it for a long time. The villagers in the various villages on Namek, seeing the sky suddenly turn dark, immediately realized what was happening and quickly bowed in respect. Many village elders were somewhat bewildered. They had just received orders from the Grand Elder to deliver the Dragon Ball. However, just as they set off, the Dragon Ball they were holding suddenly vanished. Then in less than a minute the dragon appeared. What exactly happened? Who's with the Grand Elder? It's very possible that a great god has descended upon our Namek. Elder Mully couldn't help but exclaim, looking up at a golden dot of light on the distant horizon. That golden spot of light was the divine dragon Porunga. All that could be seen at Elder Mully's place was a tiny speck of light. A great god, the villagers around him were all stunned. Let us bow and pay homage to the great god, someone suggested. Indeed, we should kowtow and pay our respects. Elder Muley nodded, took the lead in kneeling down, and bowed in the direction of the Grand Elder. The Grand Elder was located on a high cliff. The divine dragon Porunga hovered in the deep night sky, its enormous body shimmering with golden light. Whoever has collected all 7 Dragon Balls, tell me your wish, and I will do my best to grant you any 3 wishes. Porunga's voice echoed in the night sky. However, Porunga had only spoken halfway when he suddenly realized something. Large beads of sweat rolled down his face, and his expression became respectful. Adult Kaioshin. Chinese letter, 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 Porunga. In the distant Yadrat there lives a Saiyan woman named Jin. Can you grant her a wish and make it come true? Belser asked Porunga. No problem. Porunga nodded immediately, then asked, should we grant all 3 wishes to this lady Jin? If she has 3 wishes, then grant them all. Beryl did not object. Bo-ryuki was even more shocked. Aunt Jin, Adelaide, what on earth is going on? Is Aunt Jin still alive? But how did she end up in Adelaide? Then I will now immediately ask Lady Jin to make a wish. Porunga's voice rang out again. Please, Beryl said politely. Adelaide. City Center Square, today is the annual banquet in Yadrat. Under Pibala's arrangement, Jin had a great time drinking and eating with the Yadrat aliens. The Yadratas are also a very friendly race, and the two sides get along extremely well. Now shall we invite Jin to sing us a song? The host asked with a smile. Good. Many Yadratians applauded and cheered. Jin was a little embarrassed, but she still bravely stood up and walked towards the stage. The moment Jin stepped onto the stage, smack. Suddenly a chubby green dragon appeared in the sky. A giant green dragon appeared in the night sky, revealing its enormous body and obscuring the entire city's sky. Jin, host, let me sing a song. Do you really need to use such big special effects? Jin looked at the host, both amused and exasperated. The host is completely dumbfounded. This isn't some kind of special effect at all, I didn't do it. The many iterations present were also stunned, their expressions changing repeatedly as they stared in horror at the giant dragon that appeared in the sky. Lady Jin, I am the dragon god Porunga. Instructed by the Supreme Kai, my avatar has come from the distant Namek to grant you any 3 wishes. Porunga's voice suddenly rang out, filled with majesty. These words stunned the many Adelate aliens present once again. Is this Shenron from Namek? Did you come all this way just to grant Jin's wish? It seems the Supreme Kai sent him, host. Is it your custom to make a wish before singing? Jin asked the host, a little confused host. The host didn't know how to answer the question, mainly because he was shocked by what happened on set. Okay, then I'll make a wish, Jin said, gripping the microphone tightly with both hands, placing it in front of her, closing her eyes, and making a wish in her heart. Dragon Borunga. Borunga was speechless for a while. I'm asking you to make a wish, not to make a wish in your heart. You need to say your wish out loud, Lady Jin. Please state your wishes, and I will do my best to grant you 3 wishes. The dragon Porunga had no choice but to make his words clearer. Should I say my wish out loud? Will it not come true if I say it out loud? Jin was taken aback. Borunga. Go ahead and say it, Porunga replied. Are there 3 wishes in total? Jin thought carefully for a moment, then immediately voiced her first wish. My first wish is for Bardock and Belser to be resurrected. Borunga immediately fell silent. It seems that won't work. Was my wish a bit too much? Once they're dead, they probably can't be brought back to life, right? Jin's face showed a hint of sadness as she sighed softly. If that's the case, then my wish is for Bardock and Belser to be better off in another world. Your first wish cannot be fulfilled, because Lord Belser is still alive. Porunga's voice rang out. Thank goodness I knew he was still alive. I was just trying to find out if he was alive this way. I'm sorry, Jin breathed a sigh of relief. Borunga. Knowing that Belser is still alive puts my mind at ease. Jin said, then seemed a little confused, before suddenly realizing something and asking. Wait, am I new to he? Did you call him sir? Is this your wish? Porunga asked. No. Jin quickly shook her head, then asked. What about Bardock? I want to resurrect Bardock. Is that possible, Mr. Bardock? I'm afraid he cannot be resurrected. Porunga said in a deep voice. Why? Jin asked, somewhat surprised. Because I did not find Mr. Bardock's soul, and a person without a soul cannot be resurrected. Porunga explained. No soul, why is that? Jin asked, bewildered. I'm sorry. I can't answer that question, because I don't know what happened either. Porunga shook his head. Jin remained silent. Speak your first wish, Porunga urged. Can I see Belser? Jin asked excitedly. This. Porunga was speechless and could only reply. Please wait a moment, I'll ask him if he'd like to see you. Jin, the distant planet Namek. Shenlong relayed Jin's request to Belser. I'll go see her later, but that can't be considered a wish. Belser said to the dragon after a moment's thought. Porunga truly didn't know what to say. Left with no other choice, Porunga had to relay Beryl's message to Jin. Can I really see Belsai? This is wonderful. Thank you, Shenron, you have granted my greatest wish. Jin exclaimed excitedly. This doesn't count as a wish, keep making your wishes. Beads of sweat rolled down Porunga's face. This isn't even a wish. Jin was stunned, scratched her head, and fell into deep thought of what to wish for. Porunga could only wait patiently on the sidelines. I've got it, I have a wish. Jin's eyes lit up. And she quickly asked, Shenlong, then let me ask you. Has my son Kakarot arrived on Earth yet? Is this your wish? Palunga asked again. Yes, that's my wish. Jin nodded solemnly, then immediately shook her head. Changing her wish? Wait a minute, let me change my wish. Borunga, are you all weirdos? Your son's Supreme Kai came and gathered all 7 Dragon Balls to summon me. As a result, I traveled to faraway Adelaide to grant my mother 3 wishes. It seems the Supreme Kai doesn't know that this Lady Jin is his biological mother. No wonder that's the case. Should I give the Supreme Kai a heads up? My first wish is for my 2 sons Belser and Kakarot to grow up healthy and strong. Jin said, expressing her wish. I'm sorry, I can only grant you half of your wish. Borunga gave a bitter smile. Half why? Jin asked, puzzled. Because I have no right to bestow fortune upon a true god. Porunga shook his head. The real god, who is it? Jin asked, startled and somewhat excited. Borunga didn't answer the question immediately. He just stared at her with his big eyes. Jin reacted extremely quickly. Who else could it be besides Belsi? Could it be Goku after all? Kakarot had only recently emerged from the baby care machine. But how could Belzi possibly be a god? Jin was a little confused after all. Jin and Beryl spent every day together and didn't see anything special about him. Then please bless my son Kakarot so he may grow up healthy and strong. Jin said again, expressing her wish. And also please bless Belser so he may be safe and sound. Porunga truly didn't know how to put it. Don't add Lord Kaioshin every time. The way you're doing this makes it very difficult for me to fulfill your wish. Can't even blessing Belsay with safety be done? Jin asked innocently. I'm sorry, his divine status is already above mine. I cannot do that, Palunga shook his head. I can only bless your son Kakarot so that he may grow up healthy and strong. All right then, please grant this wish, Jin nodded. Borunga breathed a slight sigh of relief and immediately granted Jin's wish. Fearing that if he spoke too late, the woman might suddenly change her wish, however. When Porunga was about to cover Kakarot with something resembling a lucky halo, he was surprised to find that there was already a similar lucky halo on him. Borunga was stunned again, and couldn't help but blurted out, what's wrong? The dragon, is it still not possible? Jin asked with some worry. Your son Kakarot has been blessed with something like a lucky aura. This aura can help him ward off some disasters and allow him to grow up safely. Porunga sighed, really, is that so? Jin scratched her head, suddenly remembering what Bardock had told her before. Bardock told Jin that when he was on Cyril, he encountered a dragon that could grant wishes. The dragon asked Bardock what his wish was. Bardock's wish at the time was for his children to grow up safely. Have you met Bardock before? Jin asked quickly, never seen it. Porunga shook his head, that lucky aura wasn't given to me. It was bestowed upon me by another dragon. Another dragon, the dragon from Cyril, Jin mused. Smack, Borunga did not answer the question. Instead, an invisible halo appeared in his eyes and quickly attached itself to Kakarot, who was traveling at high speed through space. In just a moment, Sun Wukong was once again surrounded by a lucky aura. Your first wish has been granted, now speak your second wish. Borunga's voice echoed from high above. I have no more wishes, Jin smiled, even if I did. I'm afraid you wouldn't be able to fulfill them. Borunga felt a pang of heartache at that moment. But what you said seems to make a lot of sense. My only wish right now is to see Beryl as soon as possible. Jin said impatiently, do you know where he is? Okay, I'll tell him about it, Porunga nodded, Namk. Borunga's gaze fell upon Belser once more. How many wishes did you make? Belsay asked Borunga. There is only one, Palunga replied. Only one wish after all this time, Belsay paused. Then instructed, there are 2 more wishes, continue. She said she had no more wishes, Porunga sighed. Her only wish now is to see the Supreme Kai as soon as possible. You don't need to treat this as a wish to be fulfilled. I'll do it myself, Belsay said, waving his hand. Then, Supreme Kai, you have 2 more wishes, said Porunga. Bodo, have you thought about your wish? Belsay turned to ask Boroko beside her. My wish is to never be separated from Belsi. Boroko said, expressing her heartfelt desire. Borunga was speechless. Are all your wishes this outrageous? Why can't I just express a more normal wish, Shenlong? My second wish is for me, Jin. And Poroko to have the ability to survive in outer space. Belser said, expressing his second wish. Borunga was taken aback. I understand the idea of giving Jin and Poroko the ability to survive in outer space. The problem is you're a Supreme Kai. How can you not survive in outer space? Borunga immediately saw through the phenomena to the essence. Upon seeing this, Borunga suddenly understood. I'm sorry. Supreme Kai. I can only grant one person the ability to survive in space at a time. Porunga said apologetically. Then grant me the ability to survive in outer space. Belsay mused, understood. Borunga breathed a slight sigh of relief, seemingly afraid that some outrageous wish might arise again, and immediately granted Belser's true form the ability to survive in outer space. After doing all this, Borunga felt a sense of relief. However, the thought of having another wish suddenly made Porunga feel uneasy again. Seeing how much Borunga seemed to be suffering, the elder's lips twitched, and he secretly wiped away his sweat. What kind of mental torment did Porunga suffer in Yadret? Lord Supreme Kai, your second wish has been granted. Now tell me your third wish, Porunga said hastily. Belsai's true form also sensed the changes in her body immediately. As for what kind of change it was, Bercy couldn't say. In short, with the enhancement of Porunga's abilities, Belser's true form can now survive in outer space. My third wish is simple, to grant Jin the ability to survive in outer space. Beryl said, stating his third wish. This is too easy. Borunga breathed a long sigh of relief. I thought your third wish would be even more difficult for me. Wow, it's that simple, smack. An invisible halo flashed in Porunga's eyes, quickly landing on Jin suddenly. Without even realizing it, Jin also gained the ability to survive in outer space. Lord Supreme Kai, your 3 wishes have been granted. Farewell. After saying this, Porunga's enormous body trembled slightly and immediately transformed into a golden ball of light. The 7 dragon balls below instantly rose into the air and merged with the golden ball of light. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The next moment, the 7 dragon balls scattered to all corners of the planet, leaving golden tails in the sky before quickly disappearing without a trace. The sky brightened from darkness. The sky brightened and the dragon disappeared. What a peculiar phenomenon. Bo Ryuk was still in shock. Bodo. Next time I'll give you the ability to survive in outer space. Belser said to Boroko, no need, no need. I feel like your wish doesn't seem to be anything special. Boroko seemed uninterested in such a wish. You'd be better off wishing to grow up quickly and become a super beautiful woman. Belser. In a brief silence, Elder Bodo. I'll be back in a bit, Belser said, his body suddenly becoming ethereal. Belsi, where are you going? Boroko asked, startled. Whoosh. However, no sooner had Boroko finished speaking than Belsi vanished from the spot. Adelaide on a stage in the city center. Jin was still holding the microphone in her hand, looking at the large audience of what to say. Host. The special effects were really good. I almost believed it was real. Jin looked at the host with some gratitude, then turned her gaze to Pibala below. Jin instinctively believed that Pibara had orchestrated all of this. Pibala, why are you looking at me? I was still a bit shocked by what I just witnessed. The many Yadratians stared wide-eyed, momentarily at a loss for what to do. Thank you all for your help, you are all good people. Jin was moved to tears. Jin, that didn't seem to be a special effect. Pibala had no choice but to step forward and say to Jin. What do you mean, didn't you arrange all of this? Jin was taken aback. No, as far as I know. There really is a dragon on the distant planet Namk, and it can grant you any 3 wishes. Pibara couldn't help but exclaim, what? So many wishes won't come true. But it would be nice if Kakarot could grow up healthy and strong. I hope it's true. Jin looked up at the sky and sighed softly. That dragon said Belser would come to see me. But how will he get here? I haven't seen any spaceships. Whoosh. As soon as Jin finished speaking, The space around them rippled violently in an instant. Belser teleported from the distant planet Namk to Yardrat, appearing beside Jin. Jin froze, staring wide-eyed at Beryl without blinking. Why has Belsail's appearance changed so much? Are you Belsar? Jin looked at Belsar with some surprise, and immediately stepped forward, grabbed his arm, and lifted it up to examine him closely. The more Jin looked at it, the more something seemed off. Then, Jin gestured to show Belsay's height and found that he had grown quite a bit taller. What's with your outfit? Jin asked curiously. And where's your tail, Aunt Jin? Belsay smiled and began to speak. Ah. Judging from your voice, it really is Belsar. What happened to you? Am I dreaming? You really came to find me? Jin was extremely excited. As she spoke, she stepped forward and hugged Belsar tightly, wanting to hold him in her arms. It's me, Aunt Jin, I'm Belsar. Belsar nodded seriously. After Alenbertha's opinion, Aunt Jin most wanted to see her own son Kakarot, however. To Beryl's surprise, Aunt Jin actually wished that I could come and see you as soon as possible. I was planning to come see you after I found Bardek. Beryl was able to feel the warmth of family affection from Jin. Although they're not biologically related, Belsbel was a little touched. In any case, I have finally repaid her for raising me. From now on, I only hope that she can stay here and live a good life. Or go to another planet if she wants. Aunt Jin, let's talk over there, Belsay said, immediately using teleportation to take Jin with him. Whoosh, in the blink of an eye, Beryl appeared with Jin on a platform halfway up the mountain. Upon arriving at this place, Jaini immediately looked around in all directions, revealing a look of shock. Belsy, how did you do that? This place is at least 2.0 kilometers away from the city center square. Jin exclaimed in astonishment. That's called teleportation. It allows you to instantly arrive at wherever you want to go. Belsidal explained simply. Really? When did you learn the skill? Jin asked excitedly. I just learned it, Belsail replied. Wait a minute, Belsbel, pinch me. Jin still felt that everything was so unreal, and immediately looked towards Belsbel's racetrack. Aunt Jin, you're not dreaming. Belsay shook her head and said seriously. Wasn't it a dream? Then tell me what exactly happened to you. Was that dragon real? Why did it call you the Supreme Kai? Jin had so many questions to ask, and she bombarded them with several at once. Then she added, by the way, I heard that when you were in the palace, you were kidnapped by an elephant and a strange-looking little girl. Belsay had nothing to hide, and immediately told Jin everything about how Keith and Rumsey had kidnapped him. This also included revealing their identities. She even told Jin about Bel's election as Supreme Kai and his eventual attainment of that title. Upon hearing Beryl's account, Jin was utterly shocked and remained in a daze for a long time. I never imagined so much would happen to you. And it's only been 3 days, Jin exclaimed. Also happy that her son had such a great opportunity. Yes. Bercy nodded, unbeknownst to us. Beryl has become a god. Jin was so excited that tears streamed down her face as she stepped forward and tightly grasped Beryl's hand. However, there was something unsettling about Jin holding Beryl's hand. His hands looked completely different from before. Why did my hands feel different after becoming a god? Is it because I've grown up? Or do I automatically grow taller after becoming a god? Jin looked Belsay up and down again. Aunt Jin, this body is just my divine body. My true form cultivates in a special space. Belsay had nothing to hide from Jin and told her the truth. Divine power, what does that mean? Jin asked, puzzled. That's it, Beryl said, his body suddenly turning into countless tiny stars. However, immediately afterward, Belsar's body reformed and returned to its previous form. Jin was so shocked that her jaw almost dropped. And she didn't recover for a long time. Simply put, this body was formed from my divine power. It is immortal and indestructible and can live forever. Belsay explained with a smile. You really scared me to death just now. Jin breathed a slight sigh of relief. I knew this body felt strange, Aunt Jin. I am now the Supreme Kai of Universe 10. And I have the right to take you back to Universe 10. Belsar said solemnly. Do you want to come back to Universe 10 with me? My Supreme Kai world is large enough. Aunt Jin can live there comfortably. Go to the 10th universe. Jin was slightly taken aback, her expression showing some hesitation. It's just that there's no one in my Supreme Kai's realm. Living there might be lonely, Belser added, then continued. However, I'll find a way to find Bardock and bring him there too. The dragon said that Bardock's soul is missing, so he cannot be resurrected. Do you know what happened, Beryl? Jin asked nervously. Bardock must have traveled through time, but I don't know which timeline he's on. We'll need the Super Dragon Balls to bring him to our time. Belsai explained. Super Dragon Balls, what are those? Jin asked, puzzled. I previously collected the 7 Dragon Balls from Namek to summon Shenron, but he couldn't grant many wishes. Bells explained in detail. However, if we use the Super Dragon Balls to summon Shenron, he can grant any wish. I was thinking of finding Bardock and bringing him here so I could reunite with Aunt Jin. How Bardock traveled through time, Jin exclaimed. Then suddenly realized something. That means Bardock is still alive. Yes, alive. Beryl nodded. Travel through time, travel through time. Jin repeated these 4 words several times. Her eyes suddenly lit up and she strode towards the cave. Beryl was taken aback. Jin quickly emerged from the cave, now holding something resembling a parchment scroll, which she handed to Berzelius. Beryl examined the parchment scroll. Beryl recognized the text, but when he saw the signature, his eyes widened in shock. Look, Bertha. This is a letter Bardock left 1,000 years ago. Jin said excitedly, pointing to the parchment scroll. So that means Bardock traveled back 1,000 years. Beryl nodded, letting out a slight sigh of relief. It seems that although the plot deviated somewhat, Bardock still successfully returned to 1,000 years ago. Bardock will become the first Super Saiyan and destroy Frieza's ancestor. Chilled, can we find him through this letter? Jin asked expectantly. Can I have this letter? I'll go back and think of something. Maybe I can find some clues through it. Belsay said thoughtfully. Of course, no problem, you can have it. Jin readily agreed. Beryl put the letter away and decided to take it back to show it to Kiers. Perhaps Kreese can use this letter to find Bardock's timeline. Don't worry, Aunt Jin. Even if we can't find any clues through this letter, as long as we gather all 7 Super Dragon Balls, we can definitely summon Bardock from 1,000 years ago to our side. Bells comforted her. That's good, that's good. As long as I know Bardock is alive, I'm relieved. Jin patted her chest, letting out a slight sigh of relief. By the way, Bells, are those things called Super Dragon Balls hard to find? The problem now is that the Super Dragon Balls are hard to take away. I still need to hone my skills. Belsy shook his head. Originally, Belsy wanted Rumsey to take the Super Dragon Balls away, but that would be far too obvious. He was traveling rapidly through space with one of the Super Dragon Balls, and the 3 main Super Dragon Balls were still in Universe 6. It's unrealistic to say that they wouldn't be discovered by Champa. The best way is to teleport away and take the Dragon Balls without anyone noticing. Is it hard to take away? Is it very big? Jin asked, taken aback. It's very big, Bercy nodded. How big is it? I'm sure I and Beryl can carry it together, Jin said. About the same size as planet Vegeta, Bels replied. Jin was speechless. 1 Super Dragon Ball is as big as planet Vegeta. This is ridiculously big. Let's put the Super Dragon Ball thing aside for now. Aunt Jin, are you coming back to the Supreme Kai's world of Universe 10 with me? Bels asked again. Could we bring your younger brother Kakarot over too? Haim asked, a thought stirring within her. Bercy hesitated for a moment. If it's not suitable, then forget it. Jin said thoughtfully. Aunt Jinny, how about this? Let's go check on Kakarot's future first. If his future is bleaker, he's not doing well on Earth, then we can bring him over, okay? Belsay thought for a moment and suddenly had an idea. Look at Kakarot's future. Jin was taken aback. Momentarily confused and didn't quite understand. I am the Supreme Kai, capable of traveling through time to the future. Bells explained, but I cannot go back to the past, because altering history is against the rules and would be punished. Ah, you can do that too. Jin was both surprised and delighted, and nodded vigorously in agreement. Take my hand, Aunt Jin, let's go to Earth first. Belsay extended his hand to Jin. Jin reached out her hand, Kai Kai. Belisy muttered incantations and immediately used teleportation with Jin, disappearing from their spot in the blink of an eye. In an instant, Belser and Jin appeared in the sky above Earth, looking down at the drifting clouds and the yellowish-brown Earth below. Aunt Jin, this is Earth, Belser said to Jin. Jin immediately looked around, her eyes once again revealing endless shock. In just a moment, we appeared on Earth from the distant Adelaide. Wait a minute. I remember now, when planet Vegeta exploded. I was taken to Yardrat by a beautiful girl. Do you know that beautiful girl? Jin suddenly remembered the beautiful female Saiyan who had taken her away. She is Kreese, a very great godhood, more powerful than me. Belser explained. Pibara said a god saved me, could it be her? Jin said thoughtfully, then smiled, she's so beautiful. But a bit too old. If she were younger, you could consider marrying her when you're older. Belsay. Kex has lived for hundreds of millions of years. Belsay wiped his sweat, She's lived for hundreds of millions of years. Wouldn't she be an old hag? Jin exclaimed in disbelief. Is she exceptionally ugly? She is a bit ugly, especially her skin color. Belsay nodded vigorously, then let's forget about it. I think Barocco is quite pretty. She'll definitely be a great beauty when she grows up. Jin pondered, I wonder if she's still alive. If she is, you could consider marrying her when you grow up. Bersy was speechless. Universe 10, Realm of Gods of Destruction. Kirsten held the scepter and silently observed Bells. Upon hearing the conversation between the mother and son, Keith's face immediately darkened. Am I ugly? And Beryl, you've gone too far. My skin tone is so beautiful, your skin tone is ugly. Also, Beryl's mother was really awful. Who is the old witch? Your son is only 6 years old. And you're already looking for a wife for him. What's wrong, Keith? Rumsey glanced at Keith and noticed that her expression was a little off. It's nothing, Lord Rumsey, Kreese shook her head, not saying much, and immediately looked away, no longer paying attention to Belsy and Jin. How's that kid Belizy's practice of teleportation coming along? Rumsey asked. At the current pace, it will take at least a long time to power a planet. Kreese mused, we'll just have to wait patiently. Rumsey snorted, wiggling his elephant trunk. Anyway, I'll let him handle all the work related to the god of destruction for now. And then he can deal with it when the time comes, Chris. The god of destruction's job is simply to destroy a few planets. The prophecy burgeonable to bear watching any longer. Hopped around a couple of times and said, Rumsey, you're really lazy, HMPH. Is it easy for you to say that when you're not the one suffering? Rumsey glared at the prophecy bird, annoyed. If you had to lay eggs every day repeating the same work, would you be willing? I'll say it again, I'm a divine bird. Not a chicken, I don't lay eggs. The prophecy bird said angrily, after speaking. The prophecy bird opened its beak and suddenly spewed out a flame that quickly covered Rumsey. Smack! Rumsey gently raised his hand, caught the engulfing flames, and then squeezed them so hard that they shattered into pieces. Upon realizing its ambush had failed, the prophetic bird clucked and hurriedly flapped its wings, making a hasty escape. Rumsey didn't make things difficult for the prophetic bird. He just gave it a dismissive glance. Universe 7 Earth, this is Earth. The environment looks better than planet Vegeta and planet Yardrat. Has Kakarot not arrived on this planet yet? Jin said, glancing again in the direction of outer space. It will take at least several more months to reach this planet. Belsy looked silently at the Earth, deeply moved. This blue planet was all too familiar to Belsy. In his previous life, Belizy lived on this planet today. The Earth is still the Earth, but everything has changed. However, Belizy only made a brief remark before taking a deep breath. Belsy, how do you travel through time to the future? Jin asked impatiently, hold my hand and don't let go. If you're accidentally caught in a time tunnel, it'll be hard to get back. Belsy explained solemnly to Jin, I understand. Jin held Belsy's hand tightly. Let's find some time to take a look, 9 years from now. When Kakarot is 12 years old, Belsy suggested, okay. Jin nodded. Aunt Jin, once we get to the future, we can only observe. Don't try to disturb or change Kakarot, as that might cause unnecessary disruption to the entire timeline. Before departing, Belsay solemnly reminded Jin of this again. I understand, Jin nodded solemnly then asked. If it causes unnecessary disruption to space-time, will you be punished? Yes, Beryl replied. I won't change time and space. If something dangerous really happens in the future, as long as we go back and tell Kakarot beforehand, there shouldn't be any major problems, right? Jin thought seriously for a moment and then shared her opinion. Beerus nodded slightly, without hesitation. Belsay immediately turned the time-space ring on his hand. Instantly, the surrounding space twisted and deformed. Whoosh, in the blink of an eye, Belsay and Jin traveled through time and space, appearing on Earth 9 years in the future. Have we already traveled through time? Jin was taken aback and looked around again, finding that apart from feeling a little dizzy, nothing else seemed to have changed much. Let me find out where Kakarot is. Belsay's gaze quickly swept across the Earth. About 10 minutes later, Belsay finally saw a quaint little house on Baozi Mountain. Outside the room, little Wukong was chopping wood. Hey. Little Wukong punched and kicked at a wooden stake and quickly chopped the firewood. Found her Aunt Jin, let's hurry over there. Belsay led the way, Jin excitedly followed behind Beryl. The two flew rapidly through the air and appeared above Baozi Mountain. Looking down, rat-a-tat-tat. A green SUV was traveling on a mountain road and immediately caught Jin's attention. Is that a mode of transportation on this planet? Jin stared intently at the off-road vehicle. Yes. Beryl nodded. Where's Kakarot? Jin searched everywhere for Goku. Over there. Belsay pointed to the front of the SUV. Sizzle. Suddenly the SUV braked sharply on the mountain road, nearly colliding with a large fish. That startled me. It was so dangerous. The next moment, a head popped out of the sunroof of the SUV and shouted loudly at a child on the road. You monster, are you trying to steal my big fish? The child said angrily, then stepped forward, lifted the SUV up and threw it forcefully into the distance. Bang, the SUV crashed heavily onto the ground, and the girl inside let out a soft cry. Upon seeing the child, Jin's eyes immediately lit up. That's Kakarot. He looks exactly like your father. Jin said excitedly to Belsay, my dad. Beryl was taken aback. Jin hesitated for a moment, then winked at Beryl and said with a smile, yes. Bardock treats you like his own son, Beryl. Belsay didn't say much more. The two looked down again. Bulma poked her head out of the car, pulled out a pistol, and pointed it at Goku. Ah. A demon popped out of that monster. Little Wukong drew his Rui Jingu Bang. Oh no. Bulma exclaimed and immediately opened fire. Bang. The bullet hit little Goku squarely in the head, knocking him to the ground with a thud, where he screamed in pain. It hurts so much. What kind of sorcery did you use? Little Goku asked through gritted teeth. Huh. Why can't I kill him? Bulma trembled with fear. Idiot, how could that little thing possibly kill me? My body is as strong as steel. Little Wukong scrambled to his feet, raising his Rui Jingu Bang. You little devil, watch how I deal with you. Wait. I'm not a fairy, I'm a human, Bulma exclaimed in fright. But then a clever idea struck her. A person, really? Little Goku was taken aback. Bulma quickly climbed out of the car and stood in front of Goku with her hands raised. Look, I'm human just like you. Bulma said to Goku with a smile on her face. Don't move. Goku shouted, holding up his staff and watching Bulma warily. Bulma had no choice but to stand there motionless. Goku circled Bulma again and again, examining her closely. He seems a bit different from me, he looks so frail. Little Goku thoughtfully stroked his chin. That's only natural because you're a boy and I'm a girl. Bulma replied, a girl? You said you're a girl. Little Wukong was taken aback, showing a hint of surprise. You country bumpkin, haven't you ever seen a girl before? Bulma was speechless. I haven't seen anyone in a long time. Little Wukong replied. My grandfather told me when he was alive that I should be polite to girls. Your grandfather is such a good man, so don't be too mean to me. Bulma blinked one eye and breathed a slight sigh of relief. A girl without a tail. Goku muttered strangely, glancing at Bulma's butt. What followed was almost exactly what Belizy knew. Goku took Bulma back to his home and obtained a 4-star Dragon Ball. Bulma also explained some things about the Dragon Balls to Goku. Bulma then invited Goku to join her in the search for the Dragon Balls. Little Wukong readily agreed. "By the way, what's your name?" Bulma asked Goku. "My name is Goku," Goku said, then asked Bulma, "And you?" Bulma, hahaha, what a strange name." Goku laughed heartily. Beryl watched silently, feeling as if he were watching a real-life movie. The scenes were very familiar. Jin sensed something was amiss and lowered her head in deep thought. A brief silence. "Belsi, I have a feeling that Kakarot isn't quite right." Jin murmured, "Something's not quite right." "It seems like he's lost his memory," Beryl nodded. "He doesn't even remember his own name." "You're right, Beryl, Kakarot must have amnesia." Jin suddenly realized otherwise. He wouldn't be unable to remember his own name. "Let's see," Belser said to Jin, "but for now. It seems Kakarot has successfully arrived on Earth, yes." Jin nodded, then looked at Bulma more closely, gazing at the Bell Racer track. "But that girl seems to be around your age, right?" "Yes." Beryl nodded. "I could consider marrying her," Jaini said with a bright smile. Belsay, afterwards. Beryl accompanied Jin to observe for a while longer, then suddenly suggested, "Why don't we see how he is a year or two from now, okay?" Jin did not object. Next, Bells once again took Jin on a time-travel journey to witness Sun Wukong's growth. From becoming Master Roshi's apprentice to the World Martial Arts Tournament, to defeating the Red Ribbon Army, challenging King Piccolo, and marrying Kai Chayek. Beryl showed Jin a few of these time-space fragments. Seeing her son grow up to be this great, Jai felt immense joy. Of course, there were several times when Jin wanted to rush to help Kakarot when he was in danger. However, considering the enormous impact that altering the course of history here would have on Belser, and the potential punishment it might bring, Jin had no choice but to refrain from doing so. Fortunately, Kakarot always managed to defuse the crisis without serious injury, which put Jin's mind at ease. "It seems the dragon wasn't lying to me. Kakarot has indeed grown up safely." Jin nodded with some relief. "Yes." Beryl replied casually, suddenly realizing that the images were somewhat different from what she had actually seen. Judging from these images, Bulma was not walking with Yamcha. But none of that matters to Beller. Kakarot did grow up safely, but the only drawback is his extremely low combat power. Jin sighed slightly, then shook her head gently, a relieved smile appearing on her face. "But it's all right. At least Kakarot is now the strongest person on Earth. Being able to live well on this planet is a very good choice. I think Kakarot will definitely grow into an outstanding warrior in the future." Belser couldn't help but say, "Huh, really? Beryl, you think so?" Jin was taken aback, looked up at Beryl and asked. "I have that feeling," Beryl nodded, pondering. "And Kakarot's teachers are excellent. They instilled in him the right outlook on life and values." "That's right. Although that old man called Master Roshi is a bit of a pervert, he was indeed Goku's mentor." Jin blinked, agreeing with Belizy's words. They laid a solid foundation for Kakarot. And I believe that if given a good opportunity, Kakarot might grow into a very powerful warrior. Belser smiled. "I didn't really want him to become that strong. I'm already quite content watching him become the strongest man on Earth in just 20 years. Jin said softly, "Besides, Belser has already become a god. And my only wish now is to rekindle my romance with Bardock." Belsay. Bercy suddenly felt that something was wrong. "It seems Jin doesn't care about Raditz at all. He's still your son after all." However, since Jin didn't mention Raditz, Beryl couldn't very well let her go see him, after all. The first scene Raditz appeared on screen was him fighting to the death with Kakarot. In the end, they both perished. If Jin saw this scene, I wonder how heartbroken she would be. The two sons died embracing each other. "Belsy, I've made up my mind. Let Kakarot stay on Earth and live a good life." Jin had figured it out. It was better for him to live a good life on Earth than to keep Kakarot by her side. Moreover, he met a beautiful girl on Earth and got married. Although Kakarot had several dangerous experiences, These experiences were also the most valuable assets in his life. As for Kakarot's amnesia, Jin felt a little sorry for him. But Belser said that he would definitely remember what happened on planet Vegeta in the future. In the first chapter of the Dragon Ball Super Universe, Goku did indeed recall his past and regain his long-dormant memories. From that moment on, Goku inherited his father Bardock's fighting spirit and brought the power of Ultra Instinct to its fullest potential. Belsi, shall we watch it one last time? Jin asked Belsi again as she was preparing to leave. Which stage of Kakarot are you planning to watch? Berserker asked, maybe 5 or 6 years from now. Jin thought for a moment, not daring to push the time too far back. After watching Goku 5 or 6 years in the future. We'll go back, okay. Belsei did not object and once again pulled Jin through time and space. Whoosh, in the blink of an eye. Bells appeared with Jin 5 years after Goku and Piccolo's battle. Jin knew the way well and instinctively went to Mount Baozi to look for Kakarot. However, apart from Kakarot's wife Kiki, Kakarot was nowhere to be seen at home. Where did Kakarot go? Jin asked, turning to Beryl. I didn't sense his presence on Earth. Beryl released his senses and slowly shook his head. Huh. How could this be? Has he encountered any danger? Jai's heart tightened. No, it seems he's left Earth. Belsie's gaze slowly swept across outer space. Left Earth? What happened with Earth's technology? We don't have the capability to go to more distant parts of the universe yet. Do we? Jin asked, somewhat puzzled. They must have left on the same spaceship they used to come to Earth. Belsi replied, yes. I completely forgot about that, Jin suddenly realized. Then asked nervously, Belsi, where could he have gone? It seems to be Namk, Belser mused. Namk. Is that the planet where you collected all 7 Dragon Balls to summon Shenron and have your wish granted? Jin blinked rapidly, quickly realizing what he meant. And then asked curiously, why did he go to such a faraway place like Namk? It seems like it's a really far place from here, right? Yes. It would take at least 5 days to fly on that spaceship. Beryl nodded. Can we go to Namk? Jin asked expectantly. As long as we see Goku is safe and sound. Let's go back immediately, just one last look, okay? Okay, Belsei did not object. And immediately pulled Jin to use teleportation, disappearing from the spot in the blink of an eye. In an instant, Belsei appeared with Jin high above Namk. Upon arriving on Namk, Belsei immediately sensed 2 powerful auras rising from the planet. Beryl was slightly taken aback, sensing an extremely familiar aura. Isn't that Frieza? Didn't I take care of that guy? How are you still alive? Let's see how it goes. Bells looked down and soon saw Goku and Frieza appear on the ground. Who is that guy who looks like a lizard? He looks so familiar. Jin also saw Frieza and immediately showed a look of horror, her grip on Bell's little hand tightening. It's Frieza, Berserker replied. Frieza. What happened to him? Jin exclaimed. That's Goku over there. Is he fighting Frieza? Below, Sun Wukong and Frieza stand facing each other. However, Sun Wukong now appears to be quite injured and exhausted. It's too late to regret it now. You were the one who challenged me first. Frieza sneered, his eyes full of disdain. Ah. Sun Wukong suddenly roared. And a red light suddenly appeared on his body, with a powerful aura surging out from him. Upon witnessing Goku's transformation, Frieza was momentarily stunned. Hey! Sun Wukong launched a swift attack, landing a powerful punch directly on Frieza's face. Frieza's body flew backward and Goku gave chase. Whoosh! Frieza adjusted his body and quickly soared into the air. Sun Wukong gathered energy in his hands, and a huge energy wave roared towards Frieza high in the sky. HMPH, a mere trick. Frieza pressed down with his large hand, attempting to catch the incoming energy wave. However, the moment Frieza came into contact with the Kai Blast, he immediately felt the powerful energy it brought. Boom. Frieza was instantly engulfed by the energy blast released by Goku. A massive energy blast appeared on the scene, exploded in midair, and formed a blinding burst of light and flame. Jin was stunned, gripping Beryl's small hand tightly, her palms sweating. That's terrifying. Jin trembled with fear. The scenes she had witnessed on Earth were nothing to Jin. because Jin's fighting power far surpassed that of Goku and Piccolo at that time. But when faced with a terrifying creature like Frieza, Jin felt endless fear and unease. Although Jin couldn't sense their presence, the powerful aura emanating from their battle created an overwhelming sense of oppression, making one feel suffocated. Buzz. The energy that Sun Wukong had just released spread outwards, and a powerful shockwave rushed towards Belize. Oh no, danger, Beryl. Jin immediately stepped in front of Beryl. Beryl was deeply moved. Immediately afterwards, Belsay raised his hand and erected a protective shield, blocking the oncoming blast wave. That was dangerous. How did Kakarot become so powerful? That energy blast could easily destroy the world. His combat power must be at least 10,000. Jin breathed a slight sigh of relief, but still felt a lingering fear. Belsay, let's get away quickly. Or leave this place altogether, it's too dangerous. It's all right, I'm here, Belsay smiled slightly. Huh. Was that the protective shield you released that blocked the shockwave? Jin suddenly came to her senses. Yes, Beryl nodded. Even if Bells is a goddess, probably no match for Frieza. Right, Jin muttered to herself after Alan Jin's mind. Frieza was an insurmountable god. I heard Frieza killed many planetary gods. Jin's voice became somewhat fearful. Belsay, even though you're a supreme Kai, you should still be careful. Belsay remained silent. Frieza is the one who should be wary. As the smoke gradually dissipated, Frieza's unharmed body came into view. Jin was even more surprised to see that Frieza was only smoking and hadn't suffered any serious injury. No wonder Bardock couldn't defeat him. Frieza is just too powerful. Jin exclaimed in astonishment. The energy blast that Goku unleashed just now seemed to exceed Bardock's fighting power. Yet Frieza wasn't harmed. Not only was Jai stunned, but Sun Wukong was also extremely shocked. His face covered in cold sweat. What's going on? It's completely ineffective. Sun Wukong's face was extremely grim. He wasn't bragging, he really did only use half the energy. Goku had no choice but to use the 20x Kaioken, but it failed to cause any real damage to Frieza. Sun Wukong stumbled and nearly fell to the ground, but he bravely got up and gasped for breath. Frieza looked at his hands, a lingering sense of fear showing on his face. That was really dangerous. How could a mere Saiyan possess such immense power? Besides that self-proclaimed god. You're the first person to hurt me this badly. Frieza gritted his teeth. I won't let you get away with this. Smack. Frieza descended from the sky and landed directly opposite Goku. Kakarot will be killed by him. Why is he so stupid to go to Namek to fight Frieza? Wouldn't it be better to just stay on Earth? Jin paced anxiously in the air, not knowing what to do. Taking Kakarot away from here would inevitably affect Belsarnath. If Goku isn't taken away, there's a high chance he'll be killed by Frieza. You hit me really hard, Frieza said coldly, veins bulging on his forehead. It really hurt. With that, Frieza leaped into the air, transforming into a pale purple light, and slammed his head heavily into Goku's body. Sun Wukong let out a muffled groan and was sent flying backward, tumbling several times on the ground. Frieza strode towards Goku, his eyes filled with boundless killing intent. Bang! Frieza kicked Goku in the chin, sending him flying. Immediately afterwards, Frieza lightly leaped above Goku, performing a backflip kick that sent Goku sprawling from midair. Bang! Sun Wukong crashed heavily to the ground, letting out a miserable scream. However, Sun Wukong bravely sat up from the ground, panting heavily. Where did your energy go? You've finally run out, haven't you? Frieza scoffed, giving a contemptuous laugh. Sun Wukong shakily stood up from the ground, feeling waves of despair wash over him. Child, stand up bravely. Jin seemed to have suddenly understood something in a short time, and whispered. Beryl was taken aback. You seemed quite nervous just now, Belsay. Remember this, it's better to die with dignity than to live a wretched life. Jin said solemnly to Belsay. Belsay nodded vigorously. Let's go back. Jin couldn't bear to watch any longer. Let's wait and see, maybe things will turn around. Belsay suggested, but the gap between Kakarot and him is just too big. I don't know what Frieza's fighting power is. Bardock's fighting power has already reached 15,000. But he is still no match for Frieza. Jin took a deep breath and sighed softly. Kakarot's combat power just now reached 60 million. Berserker had no choice but to say Jin. Jin looked completely bewildered. Belsi, what did you say? Kakarot's combat power is 60 million, Jin was stunned. She immediately looked at Belsi and asked. You're not wearing a detector. How do you know his combat power number? Ain't Jin, I am a god. I can estimate his approximate fighting strength. Belsi said with a smile, 60 million. Even with that much fighting power's no match for Frieza. Are you sure you're not mistaken, Bells? Jin asked incredulously. Frieza's fighting power is around 120 million. Bells replied, what million? Jin was struck dumb, completely stunned. There was a long silence that lasted for several seconds. If that's true, then Frieza is such a terrifying fellow. No wonder I heard he killed so many planetary gods. Jin's face turned deathly pale. As white as a sheet of paper, phew. Frieza suddenly waved his hand from afar. And an invisible energy swiftly struck the ground where Goku was standing. Boom! A bottomless crater immediately appeared in the ground. The pit was pitch black, seemingly bottomless, giving people a very terrifying feeling. What? Weren't you so capable just now? Now you're at your wits' end, aren't you? Frieza sneered. However, just as Frieza finished speaking, he suddenly noticed that Goku on the other side had raised his hands. Is Kakarot about to surrender? Jin asked, somewhat puzzled. No. It feels more like a rather magical skill, Beryl pondered. Shouldn't such amazing skills be learned on Earth? I've never seen him use them. Jin's mind flashed through various images, but she couldn't recall Kakarot having learned such a skill. However, just as Jin finished speaking, a huge mass of energy suddenly appeared in the sky. Look, Belsi, what's that? Jin exclaimed, immediately pointing to the enormous mass of energy. That must be the energy that Kakarot condensed. Belsi explained. I never imagined Kakarot had such power. Jin said incredulously, with a hint of nervousness. Hurry and attack, Kakarot, don't let Frieza find out. The current energy level isn't high enough to kill Frieza. Bell shook his head, Frieza is about to find out. Jin exclaimed anxiously, what? What are you trying to do? Are you surrendering with your hands up? Are you ever going to stop? Frieza frowned, asking somewhat strangely. Are you planning to keep your hands up like this? Hee, don't be in such a hurry, Sun Wukong chuckled. Go to hell, Frieza roared in fury, kicking Goku in the face and sending him sprawling to the ground. Oh no, this is bad, Jin was genuinely worried. Then look at Sun Wukong gritted his teeth, got up from the ground, and stubbornly raised his hands once again, rush. Sun Wukong said weakly, stop playing tricks on me. Frieza sneered, reaching out his hand to aim at Goku's body from a distance. Boom, a powerful energy similar to a Kai cannon enveloped Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong was sent flying backwards, plunging headfirst into the lake behind him. Something's wrong. Jin felt a wave of despair wash over her. The next moment, Jin saw Sun Wukong swim ashore and lie on the bank, breathing even more heavily. Frieza calmly appeared before Goku, looking down at him with a cold smile. What are Saiyans thinking? I really don't understand unlikable creatures. I'm tired of this battle. I'm going to destroy you all, along with this planet. That way another little Saiyan won't survive. And there will be no more Saiyans in this world. Who is this little Saiyan he's talking about? Jin was taken aback. Bells didn't answer the question because Gohan would appear soon. Super Saiyan is just a pipe dream for you. Frieza pointed his finger at Goku's head, ready to destroy him. However, Frieza's eyes suddenly narrowed as he saw the reflection of the spirit bomb in the water. That's not the sun, what is that? Frieza said in a deep voice, looking up at the sky. Damn it, we've been discovered, Jin said in a deep voice. The energy that Kakarot painstakingly gathered has been discovered by him. What is that? Is it energy you've conjured? Frieza was utterly shocked. How can you have so much energy? Are you trying to ambush me? You shameless bee ******, I'll kill you right now. So you'll never be able to cause any more trouble, damn it. Sun Wukong gritted his teeth and punched Frieza, smack. Frieza caught Goku's punch with his hand and pointed his finger at Goku's forehead. Disappear, Frieza sneered. Jin was so frightened that her face turned pale. and she quickly covered her eyes, unable to bear watching any longer. Can Shenron only protect Kakarot until he's in his 20s? Jin's voice choked with emotion. Belsay, bang. With a muffled thud, Jin heard the sound of someone falling into the water. Jin slowly opened the gaps between her fingers and looked down. Upon seeing the person appear below, Jin was stunned. Momentarily bewildered, is that the new Piccolo Daimao? He's come to Namek too, Jin said thoughtfully. He seemed to have helped Goku earlier, kicking Frieza away. Perhaps. After their battle in the World Martial Arts Tournament, Kakarot and Piccolo gradually became good friends. Bell said with a smile, really, that's great. But no matter how hard that new Piccolo tries, he can't possibly be a match for Frieza. Jin wasn't very optimistic about Piccolo. Bertha and Jin looked down again. Sun Wukong raised his hands once again, beginning to gather his energy into a blast. The spirit bomb grew larger and larger, bursting into a blinding light in the air. You're still trying to cause trouble, you damned Namekian. Frieza leaped from the water, his eyes bloodshot. His rage reaching its peak, he said, Namekians. Jin was taken aback. Piccolo is a Namekian, Bels explained. Huh. I was wondering why I felt like I'd seen him somewhere before when I saw him. He's a Namekian. Jin exclaimed, suddenly realizing that explains it. No wonder the Dragon Balls exist on Earth. I'm so stupid, it only just dawned on me. You stubborn flies, I'll make you pay. Frieza bared his teeth, clenching his fists tightly. However, just as Frieza's welcome landed, he suddenly felt something was amiss behind him. Bells and Jin clearly saw two beams of energy rushing towards Frieza from afar. Frieza turned his head and was hit squarely by the flying energy blast. The energy blast exploded on Frieza's body with a deafening roar. It's not very harmful but extremely insulting, Isn't that little bald guy Krillin? Jin was taken aback and looked at Krillin and Gohan. However, Jin only knew Krillin, not Gohan. Who is the other child? I've never seen him before, Jin whispered. Flies escaping from so far away. You really know how to make me angry. Frieza trembled with rage, that's enough. I'm going to turn you and this planet to ashes, smack. As Frieza spoke, he raised his right hand and held up one index finger. Instantly, a purplish-red energy flame condensed on Frieza's fingertip. Planet Destroyer Bomb. The planet-destroying missile instantly grew several times its original size. Frieza, with an endless smile, planned to unleash the planet-destroying missile. At this critical moment, Sun Wukong's eyes sharpened, and he suddenly pressed his hands down, whoosh. The spirit bomb, carrying boundless power, swept towards Frieza's location. Frieza suddenly realized something, looked up, and saw what looked like a sun falling from the sky. Frieza was terrified and hurriedly hurled the planet destroyer at the spirit bomb. The moment the planet-destroying bomb made contact with the spirit bomb, it emitted a farting sound and then vanished into thin air. What a great opportunity, Jin exclaimed excitedly, gripping Belsay's arm tightly. The spirit bomb continued its descent towards Frieza. Frieza hurriedly used his hands and feet to block the falling spirit bomb. However, the moment Frieza's body came into contact with the spirit bomb, he clearly felt the immense energy and shock it brought. Damn it, how could this happen? I'm not reconciled. Frieza shouted, "Aaya!" The next moment, Frieza was propelled by the spirit bomb and tumbled down to the ground. Boom! With a deafening roar, spirit bomb, carrying Frieza, crashed into the planet's surface, leaving a massive crater in its wake. Lake water poured into the sinkhole, creating a rushing sound. The waves were surging and rolling. Great. Jin jumped up and down excitedly. Kakarot avenged Bardock, he defeated Frieza. Beryl didn't say much, because he knew what was going to happen next. Are Kakarot and the others all right? Jin hurriedly scanned the area towards the sinkhole, searching for Kakarot's figure. The first two people they found were Bald Klin and the child. The two climbed onto a rock, then to her surprise, Jin saw Pikray emerge from the water with Kakarot and pull him ashore. Bald Klin and the child flew over unsteadily. The child hugged Kakarot and called out, "Daddy, Piccolo." However, placed his hand on Gohan's head, revealing a kind expression, "Dad. Is that child Kakarot's son?" Jin was stunned for a moment. Then muttered, but considering the timeline. We saw Kakarot marry that girl named Kiki last time. So having a son this old is perfectly normal, Bercy nodded. I'm already a grandmother at this age. It's really hard to believe. Jin didn't know what to say. It's a good thing this is the future. If I went down here and he called me grandma, he'd be too embarrassed to even say yes, would he? Are there really grandmothers this young and beautiful? Bell saying, what kind of thought process is that? But anyway, Kakarot and the others finally defeated Frieza. It would be wonderful if Bardock could have seen this. Jin sighed deeply. I'll bring Bardock to visit sometime when I have the chance. Bersai said with a smile. Yes, Jin nodded. Let's go, said Sun Wukong. We can reach Earth in 5 days aboard my spaceship. Ah. Krillin suddenly exclaimed, what's wrong, Krillin? Goku was slightly taken aback. I'd completely forgotten Miss Bulma's still here. Krillin quietly wiped his sweat. That startled me. I thought Frieza was back again. Sun Wukong breathed a sigh of relief. Well, in some ways. Miss Bulma is even more terrifying than Frieza. Krillin said seriously. Ha ha ha, don't make me laugh, my whole body hurts. Sun Wukong laughed, which aggravated his wounds, causing him to wince in pain. Namek is destroyed like this. But the Grand Elder and his fallen comrades can rest in peace now. Piccolo sighed, his voice tinged with sorrow. Let's go back to Beryl. I'm already content to have seen Kakarot grow to this level. Jin said earnestly to Beryl. Belsi nodded. Returning to our time from here will take us back to Namek. At this moment, how do you know about the Grand Elder? Klin suddenly asked, however. After Klin finished asking the question, his eyes suddenly filled with endless terror and despair. And his body began to tremble violently. What's wrong, Krillin? Goku was taken aback. Realizing that something was amiss with Krillin, that is, Klin stammered, pointing to a towering cliff. Sun Wukong looked up, and his expression instantly turned ugly. It's Frieza, he's still alive, Jin exclaimed. Her expression growing increasingly grave. Whoosh. A crimson streak flashed past, piercing straight through Piccolo's heart. Vic coughed up a mouthful of blood and collapsed to the ground. Uncle Piccolo, Gohan exclaimed in alarm, rushing towards Piccolo's direction. Sun Wukong gritted his teeth. His eyes filled with boundless rage. You think I'm dead? Frieza will never die, Frieza scoffed. You two leave here immediately. Go find my spaceship and take Bulma with you to leave this planet. Goku ordered Krillin and Gohan. What did you say, Goku? What are you trying to do? You can't do this, Krillin. Though frightened, resolutely shook his head, showing no intention of running away. Is Frieza immortal? Jin's voice trembled as she also sensed the impending danger. Hurry up, don't get in the way. Do you want to stay here and die together? Sun Wukong urged loudly. You think I'll forgive you? None of you will escape, Frieza sneered, his massive hand sweeping forward. I'm going to blow you all to pieces, instantly. An invisible energy swiftly enveloped Klin's body. Frieza controlled Krillin's body. Suspending him high in the sky, Klin struggled desperately. But no matter what he did, he couldn't break free. Krillin. Goku screamed hysterically. Stop, Frieza, HMPH. Frieza let out a cold snort. Goku. Krillin shouted hoarsely in the air. Boom. As soon as Klin finished shouting, his entire body exploded instantly, shattering in midair and turning into blood, mist, and debris. Hee, Frieza grinned smugly. Sun Wukong's pupils instantly turned white. HMPH, the next one is that kid. He's your son, isn't he? Frieza sneered, his laughter growing increasingly arrogant. Kakarot. Jin burst into tears, her heart pounding with worry for her son. Looking at Sun Wukong again, his body was trembling violently. He was furious to the extreme. Sizzle, suddenly. Streaks of golden lightning crashed down from the sky. What's going on? Why is there lightning? Jin looked up at the dark clouds below, completely bewildered. I won't let you get away with this, you're so cruel. Sun Wukong's body trembled even more violently. Smack. The next moment, Sun Wukong's hair suddenly stood up high and turned golden in an instant. Jin was stunned. Frieza was also momentarily stunned, somewhat bewildered upon closer inspection. Sun Wukong was radiating golden flames. His hair turned golden, and his pupils became a vibrant emerald green. Like two green gemstones. A powerful aura erupted from Sun Wukong, instantly dispersing the clouds in the sky. The sky brightened again. Frieza was stunned. Jin was taken aback. Huh, Dad? Gohan was extremely surprised. Gohan, take Piccolo and get back to Earth right away. He's still alive, Goku said in a deep voice. Son Gohan was so shocked that he was speechless. Get out of here before I lose my senses. Sun Wukong shouted sternly, yes, I understand. Gohan was startled. What does this change mean? Frieza was a little confused and at the same time. He had a bad feeling. Aren't Saiyans only supposed to transform into great apes? What's going on? How did Kakarot become like this? Jin looked even more bewildered, looking again. We saw Gohan carrying Piccolo slowly flying into the sky and waving goodbye to his father. Ha ha ha, you can't escape, Frieza laughed loudly, reaching out to knock Gohan down as he tried to escape. Whoosh! A flash of golden light appeared on Sun Wukong's body, and he instantly appeared directly opposite Frieza, grabbing his wrist. Frieza was terrified and struggled desperately. Enough already, you despicable B******************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************* one innocent person after another. Not even sparing Krillin. Frieza panicked and struggled desperately, trying to break free from Goku's restraints. Sun Wukong released his grip, smack. Frieza immediately leaped backward, creating some distance between himself and Goku. You. How can you have such strength? Frieza was utterly shocked. Could it be? Could it be that you are angry, Frieza? Goku roared. Bang! Sun Wukong swiftly attacked, landing a heavy punch on Frieza's face, sending him flying backward. Immediately after, Sun Wukong caught up and kicked Frieza hard, sending him crashing down from the air. Boom! Frieza's body crashed into the ground below. Kicking up a cloud of dust, Frieza flew into a rage, leaped up from the ground, and appeared directly opposite Goku. How did Kakarot become like this? Could it be he is? Jin's eyes lit up, her gaze filled with surprise. Don't be so serious. Haven't you Saiyans ever killed innocent people? Frieza scoffed. The Saiyans were wiped out as a result. Sun Wukong said indifferently, I destroyed them. I don't like Saiyans, Frieza snorted. Back then, I destroyed the entire planet Vegeta with a single planet-destroying bomb. It really was Frieza who destroyed our planet. Jin clenched her fists tightly. Now it's my turn to destroy you, Sun Wukong said coldly. You think you can destroy me, Frieza? Don't be so cocky, you can't beat me, Frieza sneered. Then suddenly made a magnificent turn and unleashed a massive burst of energy at Goku. Energy enveloped Sun Wukong. After the energy dissipated, Sun Wukong stood there unharmed, his eyes growing increasingly cold. Frieza stared wide-eyed, completely bewildered. Bang bang bang! Immediately afterwards, Goku gave Frieza a thorough beating. Frieza, his face bruised and swollen, hurriedly flew backward, once again creating some distance between himself and Goku. Damn it! Frieza gritted his teeth in hatred, unleashing a crimson flame from his hand. A crimson flame shot towards Sun Wukong's heart at incredible speed. Sun Wukong swayed and dodged the attack of the crimson flames. What? This is impossible. How could he dodge it? Frieza shouted in disbelief, unleashing streams of light from his hands once more. Sun Wukong easily dodged it. If you get hit, you're dead, Frieza said somewhat unwillingly. Sun Wukong fell silent. 3 seconds later. This time I won't dodge, let's fight again. Sun Wukong smiled slightly, his laughter growing increasingly contemptuous. Frieza immediately felt the critical hit damage of 100. 0 points. Whom do you look down on? Don't get too cocky, I'll make you regret this. Frieza roared in fury, unleashing a streak of crimson light with all his might. Sun Wukong did not dodge. Bang! The crimson streak of light struck Sun Wukong directly in the chin. With a loud bang, Sun Wukong tilted his head back slightly, then straightened it and looked at Frieza opposite him with a smile. Frieza trembled with fear, feeling waves of despair wash over him. Who are you? Frieza asked, trembling. You know. Sun Wukong's voice was cold. I'm a Saiyan who came all the way from Earth specifically to deal with you. I awakened the legendary warrior out of anger. I am Super Saiyan Son Goku. Frieza was stunned. I knew it. I was just guessing if Kakarot had turned into a Super Saiyan. I was right, Jin exclaimed excitedly, gesturing wildly. Amazing, Beryl nodded and praised. It's just a pity for that little bald Krillin. Jin sighed softly, he's Goku's best friend, isn't he? Yes, Bercy replied. Let's go back, Bels, Jin said excitedly. I never imagined Goku had become a Super Saiyan. He's probably the strongest person in the universe now. Super Saiyans are legends, you know, let's go back. Beryl did not object, it's time to go back. I've seen everything I needed to see. We can't keep showing Jin watching Goku transform into Super Saiyan 2 and Super Saiyan 3. How long will it take to see that? Jin quickly stepped forward and tightly grasped Belsay's hand. Beryl turned the time-space ring on his hand, smack. The space where Belizy was located distorted and fluctuated. However, just as Belsay entered the time tunnel, he suddenly glanced over and noticed a figure emerging from the clouds above Namek. Beryl was taken aback and immediately scanned the figure. However, the figure vanished from the spot in the blink of an eye. No. It's not that the figure disappeared, rather. Belizy has entered the time tunnel, whoosh. In the blink of an eye, Belizy returned to his own time and space. Appearing above Namek, Belsy, are we back? Jin immediately looked around. Then down at the Namekian landscape. Aunt Jin, Poto is on that cliff over there. Belser pointed to a high cliff in the distance and explained. That's the Namekian Grand Elder's house. Go there and wait for me, Bodo. Jin was taken aback. You mean Boroka? Why do you always get her name wrong? I have something to attend to, Beryl said thoughtfully, his expression turning serious. Okay, I'll wait for you over there. Jin nodded and flew quickly towards the high cliff in the distance. Beryl hesitated for a moment, then turned the time-space ring in his hand again, whoosh. In an instant, Belsai returned to the timeline where Goku and Frieza had just fought. Immediately afterwards, Belsay looked upwards, searching for the figure he had just vaguely spotted. However, the figure had already vanished. Did I see it wrong? Beryl frowned just now. The moment Beryl left this time and space, he suddenly saw Bardock's figure. That person looks too much like Bardock. But now when Beryl returned, he found that Beryl was gone. What puzzled Belsel was, how did Bardock end up in this timeline? Yes. I must have collected all the Super Dragon Balls to summon Bardock back. Therefore, it's not unreasonable for Bardock to appear on Namek more than 20 years later. And even if I were to see him now, I can't exactly take him back to our time, can I? That would throw spacetime into chaos. Beryl thought it through, shook his head slightly, and felt that he had gone to the wrong place. Immediately afterwards, Belsay planned to return to his own timeline, however, just as Belsar was twisting the time-space ring to prepare to go back. A whoosh! A streak of purplish-red light swept in from afar, moving so fast that Beryl didn't even have time to react. Beryl only vaguely saw a green figure charging towards him with its head. Bang! The green figure erupted with crimson flames and slammed into Beryl's chest. Smack! In an instant, Belsar's body nearly disintegrated and exploded on the spot. However, Belsar quickly gathered the divine power emanating from his body and returned to his original form. Immediately afterward, Belsay looked closely and saw clearly the person standing directly in front of him. Isn't that Sidura, the god of destruction of Universe 9? Huh, you're not him. Sidura frowned slightly, looking Belsay up and down. Belsay, you're from another time and space, aren't you? Sidura asked, squinting. Beryl was slightly taken aback. Get lost, I'm not interested in the you of the past. Sidara sneered, waving her hand dismissively. An invisible mass of energy quickly enveloped Belsay's body. Beryl instinctively crossed his arms to protect his body. However, in the face of absolute power, all defenses are useless. Bang! With a muffled thud, Belsay was sent flying backward by this invisible energy. Whoosh! The next moment, Belsay's body uncontrollably hurtled towards the Namekian landscape. Below, you're finished, Frieza, Goku said coldly. With that, Sun Wukong gathered his Kamehameha energy, intending to kill Frieza right there. I'd rather kill myself than be killed by you, Frieza said through gritted teeth. Whatever you say. Sun Wukong hesitated for a moment, then nodded without objection. Frieza swiftly raised his hands, conjuring an energy blast. I won't die, you're the one who should die. Frieza suddenly laughed. I can survive in outer space, can you Saiyans do that? I can, Sun Wukong nodded. Frieza. Don't be ridiculous, that's absolutely impossible. Destroy this planet. Frieza roared, about to hurl the energy blast in his hand. Who's here? Sun Wukong was startled and immediately looked up at the sky. High in the sky, a whooshing sound suddenly rang out and hurtled towards Frieza. Frieza also sensed that terrifying sound and couldn't help but look up. Upon seeing this, Frieza was terrified. A figure plummeted rapidly from the sky, carrying a terrifying momentum hurtling towards them. Frieza panicked, a hint of despair in his eyes. Bang. The next moment, Belsai's body slammed directly into Frieza. Frieza coughed up a mouthful of blood and was nearly knocked unconscious by the blow from Belsai. Immediately afterwards, Beryl, carrying Frieza's body, hurtled towards the ground. Brother. Sun Wukong was startled and couldn't help but call out. Boom! With a deafening roar, Beryl slammed Frieza's body onto the ground below, leaving a huge crater in the earth. Frieza felt like he was about to shit himself, letting out groans and turning pale. Beryl's body also trembled violently for a while, almost collapsing. Meanwhile, Beerus looked completely bewildered, having no idea what was going on. However, Belser clearly remembered that the one who attacked him was Sidara, the god of destruction of Universe 9, whoosh. Just as Belsbel was feeling a bit lost, a figure suddenly appeared beside him. Beryl looked closely and was shocked to find that the person standing next to him was none other than Rumsey. Are you the Belsi from 25 years ago? Rumsey asked, wiggling his elephant trunk. Beerus nodded. No wonder you're so weak, go back now. This isn't a place for you, Rumsey urged. I came to this era through the time-space ring. Will greeting the people of your time and space cause any problems with time and space itself? Belsay asked, Feven, if this has an impact. We can't worry about that now. Rumsey snorted, shaking his elephant trunk. Rumsey, get out here right now. Just as Rumsey finished speaking, an angry voice came from high above. I'm going to fight. You hurry back to your own time and space. Rumsey instructed Belsay before transforming into a streak of purplish red light and instantly soaring into the air. Belsay, judging from the voice, it doesn't seem to be that guy Sidara. Besides Sidara, the god of destruction of Universe 9. Could there be other gods of destruction who have come as well? What a huge spectacle that must have been. It's just fighting Frieza. Why are so many gods of destruction getting involved? Belsay released his senses and clearly felt several powerful destructive energies rising up in the starry sky. Besides Rumsey, there were at least 3 other destroyers on the scene. Moreover, there were 2 extremely powerful divine reactions at the scene. What's going on here? It's you. Frieza suddenly snapped out of his daze, glaring at Belizy with a mixture of embarrassment and anger. You know me, Belser glanced at Frieza. More than 20 years Agu shot me in the heart. And I haven't even settled the score with you yet. Frieza gritted his teeth in hatred, slap slap slap. Bells immediately gave Frieza several powerful punches. Frieza had several back molars knocked out, and was in excruciating pain, letting out agonizing howls. Feels much better, Belsy said, kicking Frieza out of the crater. Frieza wobbled as he flew up from the sinkhole below, tumbling to the ground and rolling several times before spitting out a mouthful of blood and nearly fainting. Sun Wukong glanced in Frieza's direction, but ignored him for the time being. Immediately afterward, Sun Wukong rushed to the edge of the pit and called out to Belizy inside. Brother, are you all right? However, after Sun Wukong shouted, he was surprised to find that there was no one left in the pit. Where is he? Sun Wukong scratched his head. Main timeline. Bells has already returned to his own timeline using the time-space ring. What exactly happened 25 years from now? It seems like they went through a very fierce battle. With his current strength, Belser is no match for Sidara. Belsi, knowing his own limitations, did not remain in that timeline, high on a distant cliff. Jin had already landed slowly at the entrance of the Grand Elder's house. Aunt Jin, Boroko immediately stood up to greet her. Is it Hatano? Jin waved her hand with a smile. Bo Ryo Kiyis, Aunt Jin, my name is Boroko. Boroko said angrily, yes Prajna. Jin nodded in high spirits. My son will become a Super Saiyan in the future. Jin felt that Goku becoming a Super Saiyan was even more fulfilling than Beryl becoming a god. After Alan Jin's mind, Super Saiyans are the true number one in the universe. Supreme Kais shouldn't be as powerful as Super Saiyans. However, Jin was also very happy that only Beryl could become a true god. Both of my sons are successful and I as their mother. I'm very proud of them. Are you the Grand Elder of Namek? Jin stepped forward and excitedly shook hands with Nail. Thank you for giving Bells the Dragon Balls, Neru. This is the Grand Elder. Neru pointed to the Grand Elder beside him and gave an awkward smile. Ah, thank you, I'm sorry you're too big. I didn't notice, Jin said apologetically. Grand Elder, it's too big. Shouldn't it be the first thing to be discovered? What kind of thought process is that? Where is the Supreme Kai? The Grand Elder changed the subject and inquired. You mean Beryl? He said he had to leave for a bit and would be right back. Jin replied, hesitating for a moment, as if he wanted to say something but then stopped himself. Because 25 years later, Jin discovered that the entire planet Namek seemed to have become a dead star. It seems everyone up there is dead. Should I tell the Grand Elder about this? I'd better not say anything more. It's more appropriate for Beryl to handle this kind of thing. If my excessive talking affects the development of the entire timeline, it might incur punishment from Belize, MS. Jin, is there something you need? Please speak freely. The Grand Elder sensed that Jin seemed to have something to say. It's all right. Let's talk about it when Belize gets back. Jin shook her head. As they were talking, the space rippled, whoosh. Belsai used teleportation to appear next to Jin in an instant. Upon seeing Belser appear, Jin and the others present immediately turned to look at him. Upon closer inspection, everyone suddenly sensed that something was off about Beryl. Belsi, what's wrong with your body? Jin asked anxiously, why does it feel like it's fading? What happened, Beryl? Boroko asked with some concern. It's all right, you'll be fine after you go back and rest. Belsay smiled slightly, he was just hit by Sidara, the god of destruction of Universe 9. Another heavy blow that nearly shattered Bells. Although Belser did not die, he lost a significant amount of divine power as a result. As a result, Beryl's body appears somewhat pale. I know healing magic. Could you please restore Lord Supreme Kai's health? The Grand Elder said respectfully, thank you. But your healing spell probably won't work on me. Belsi gently shook his head, worry. We Namekians possess powerful healing abilities. I can restore your body and your energy instantly. The Elder smiled confidently and suggested. Why don't you give it a try, okay? Beryl nodded, no longer objecting. The Grand Elder stepped forward personally. His hands aimed at Belsar's body from a distance. And healing flames quickly erupted from his hands. Healing flames enveloped Belsar, and then, that was it. Belsar's body is purely a divine body. The Grand Elder's healing techniques are only effective for ordinary bodies. They have no effect whatsoever on bodies formed from this condensed energy. The Grand Elder's expression froze instantly, strain. Why isn't it working, Elder? Thank you. Beryl said politely, welcome, Supreme Kai. It's an honor for us Namekians to be able to do something for you. Even though it didn't work out. The Grand Elder quickly replied respectfully. We should go back now, Beryl said, taking his leave. Please take your time, Supreme Kai MS, Jinned Miss Hada. The Grand Elder greeted them one by one, Bo Ryu Kiyi. They called me by the wrong name again. Should I change my name to Bodo, Belsi? Should we tell the Grand Elder what will happen 25 years from now? So he can be prepared, Jin whispered in Belsi's ear. Go ahead and talk to her, Aunt Jin. Beryl nodded without objection, however. Beryl did not go to say it himself, but left the opportunity to Jin. Will telling you result in punishment? If so, then I won't say anything, Jin said seriously. No. Belser shook his head. The Supreme Kai uses the time ring to travel through time to the future in order to plan the future of his own timeline, so that humanity can have a better future. Then I'm relieved, Jin breathed a slight sigh of relief. However, this doesn't belong to my 10th universe. Doing these things is equivalent to working for the Supreme Kai of the 7th universe. Belser added, I see, I should tell them in advance. Jin didn't hesitate at all, and couldn't bear to see all the Namekians die. She immediately went to the Grand Elder, MS. Jin, is there anything you wish to say? The Grand Elder asked politely, about 25 years from now. Nank will be invaded by aliens, resulting in a catastrophic catastrophe, if possible. Elder, please lead your people away from this planet as soon as possible. Jin said solemnly, yes MS Jin, I understand. The Elder nodded slightly. Actually, I had the same feeling. However, we Namekians will not leave our homeland. We have our own way of fighting, Jin. You had a feeling too. The Yadratians also have this special ability. Jin nodded thoughtfully, yes. We've heard of the Yadratians too, and have long admired them, the Elder chuckled. In any case, we must thank Ms. Jin for the reminder. We will be careful, however. While we Namekians are peace-loving, we are also a powerful race. No matter what kind of opponent we face, we will overcome any difficulty. Who would come to our Namek? Nail asked curiously from the side. Frieza, the Emperor of the Universe. Jin said in a heavy voice. The Elder's smile froze instantly. Naru's expression changed repeatedly. Beryl, however, conjured a crystal ball in his hand and waved it. Smack. An image appeared inside the crystal ball. The image in the picture is Frieza. He's still alive. This guy is incredibly lucky to be alive. I shot him right through the heart and he still survived. As for how Frieza came back to life, Berserker guessed that someone might have just rescued him. Should we go and wipe out Frieza again? After thinking about it seriously, Belsay gave up the idea. There's no need for that. Bells was enraged because he subconsciously believed that Jin had been killed, which is why he sought revenge against Frieza. Now that Aunt Jin is safe and sound, there's no need to go after Frieza. Let's keep Frieza for Goku to practice on afterwards. Belser bid farewell to the Grand Elder and Naru, and left with Jin and Poroko. Watching Belsay's departing figure, the Grand Elder fell into deep thought. Elder, are we going to move away from Namek? Naru asked with a wry smile. Grand Elder. Adelaide Belser along with Jin and Porok appeared in the room of the Grand Elder of Adelat in an instant. Jin and Poroko looked around in surprise, however. Jin seems to have gradually adapted to the awe-inspiring effect of teleportation. After all, Belser had teleported with Jin several times and even traversed time and space with her. Boroko had only experienced teleportation once with Belisi and was still in shock. In the room besides the Grand Elder, there was also an Adelate alien named Pibala. Greetings, Supreme Kai. The Grand Elder immediately bowed respectfully. Pibala then stepped forward and knelt down to pay his respects. Belsi, who are they? Boroko asked curiously. Miss Boat. Welcome to Adelaide. The Grand Elder greeted her with a smile. Bo Ryukiyi. This is Yadrat. Boroko suddenly realized, I've heard of this planet. The people on this planet have many special abilities. Yes, the Elder nodded. Belsi, did you bring us here to conquer this planet? Boroko asked excitedly. Belsi, Jin. Grand Elder's Pibala. Several people wiped their sweat together. Thank you for taking me in, Elder. Jin stepped forward to express her gratitude. I've come to say goodbye. It seems you found a better place to go. The Elder said with a smile. Yes, I'm going back to Universe 10 with Belsura. Jin nodded, answering truthfully, no problem. The Grand Elder did not object. Belsi, if Bardock comes, will the Grand Elder be able to contact us? Jin asked Belsi, turning to him. It should be difficult, considering it spans several universes. Belsi shook his head. But I think we should find Bardock first. All right then. Jaini replied, no need to trouble the Elder. A brief silence, but speaking of which, Pibala, you were absolutely right before. It really is God watching me, Jin chuckled, excitedly pointing at Belser today during the day. I felt like someone was watching me. And it turned out to be Belser. Yes, yes, Pabala nodded repeatedly afterwards. Belser waved goodbye to the Grand Elder and Pabara. And left Universe 7, the 10th universe. The planet containing an alternate dimension, whoosh. In an instant, Beryl appeared above the Rumsey sculpture with Jin and Poroko. What a huge sculpture, Jin exclaimed. What an ugly elephant, Poroko said softly. This is a sculpture of Rumsey, the god of destruction. If you two ever encounter him, remember to be polite. Beryl solemnly instructed. Especially you, Poto, don't say he's ugly again. It's alright, Goku is a Super Saiyan. There's nothing to be afraid of. Jin reassured her with a smile. If that elephant dares to bully you again, we'll get Goku to beat him up, Belsei. But I shatter your illusions about Super Saiyans. Super Saiyan. Poroko was stunned, her face showing astonishment. Who's Kakarot Orate? Isn't he that little guy in your baby care machine? He's a Super Saiyan, I remember his power level was only 2. Hee, you'll find out later, Bo Ryukiye. Jaine's face was full of smiles, eager to show off. My son Kakarot is a Super Saiyan. Kakarot is a Super Saiyan. Poroko muttered, finding it hard to believe. By the way, Beryl, why did you bring us here? Jin asked. This is the 10th universe, and it's where I cultivate. Belsei explained, where do you cultivate? Bo Ryuki was taken aback, in this alternate dimension. A year of cultivation inside is equivalent to only 1 day outside. Let's go in and take a look, Belsei suggested with that. Belsei flew toward the elephant's trunk and landed at its nostril. Immediately afterwards, Beryl led the way and crawled into the elephant's trunk. Should we go in this way? Poroko asked curiously. This place is so magical, have we turned into mice? What an interesting place. Jin couldn't help but chuckle. The three of them entered the cave together. The cave was dark and damp, with the sound of flowing water rising and falling. After traveling for a while, Belsei led the two of them to the entrance of the other dimensional space. We're here, this is it. Belsei pointed to the gate to the other dimensional space. Smack! Bercy stepped forward, opened the door and went inside. Jin and Poroko followed closely behind. Upon entering the room, Jin and Poroko felt the intense heat and oppressive atmosphere inside. The gravity is similar to planet Vegeta. Poroko said excitedly. It feels familiar, like planet Vegeta, yes. Jin nodded slightly and closed the door. Come with me. Beryl led the two to the vast white landscape outside. Jin and Poroko followed and immediately saw the true form of Belser, who was cultivating. Although Jin had already heard about this from Beryl, she was still quite surprised to see Beryl in person. Belsei, Poroko looked at Belsei's true form, then at his clone and was stunned for a moment. Completely bewildered, immediately afterwards, Bo Ryuki rushed to Belsei's Zhen and looked him up and down. Smack! Poroko grabbed Belsei's tail and gently stroked it a few times. So you're Belisai, who was that person? Poroko exclaimed in surprise and quickly asked. Don't be alarmed, that's a divine power body I created. Belsei smiled slightly and as he spoke, a ball of fiery red light immediately condensed in his hand. Whoosh! Belsei infused the divine body with fiery red light. A few seconds later, Belser's divine body changed from a lighter color back to its previous appearance. 25 years later, Belial was hit hard by Sidara, the god of destruction of Universe 9, which caused him to lose a significant amount of his divine power. Now, Belser has replenished the scattered divine power to the divine body. Not only that, Belser also channeled a portion of divine power into it, allowing the body to evolve even further. With this portion of divine power, Belser's divine body became several times stronger. Immediately afterwards, Belser controlled his divine body and took out some food from his body's space, such as chicken legs, sage beef drinks and so on. Bercy grabbed a chicken leg and started gnawing on it. In this alternate dimension, after eating flour for so long, being able to eat a chicken leg now is already a great relief. After finishing the chicken leg, Beryl wiped his hands and looked at Jin and Poroko. Aunt Jin, Poroko, my true body will be cultivating here for a long time, Belser said earnestly. But my divine body will leave this space to explore the outside world. What are your plans? You can cultivate with me. Or you can travel with my divine body. I'm not going to play with your clone. Bo Ryuk shook her head decisively. I want to stay by your side and cultivate with you. Shall I go out with you? Jin pondered. I want Bardock to appear as soon as possible. I wish time would pass faster, staying in this space. A year has passed outside for every day. How long would that take? Beryl thought about it and realized that Jin was right. She wished time would pass faster so she could see Bardock sooner. Let Baroko stay with you so she can look after you. Jin nodded with relief, feeling much more at ease. At least with Baroko by his side in Belsi. I can feel a little more at ease. Okay, it's settled then. Beryl did not object. Next we could go to Earth. Capsules from the Capsule Corporation are pretty good. We could use them to collect more food from Earth. Jin suggested, that's a good idea. Beryl nodded, agreeing with Jin's idea. We really should bring some food from Earth, otherwise. Eating flour all day long would be too much for the body to handle. Subsequently, Belser's divine power carried Jin away from the other dimensional space. Meanwhile, Belser's true form and Baroko remained here to continue their cultivation. Belisi's divine form appeared outside the elephant's trunk along with Jin. And once again used teleportation, Chinese letter, with a few blinks. Belsei and Jin quickly appeared in outer space. This isn't outer space. Jin was startled and couldn't help but exclaim. I'm going to die. However, after Jin finished speaking, she felt that her body did not feel uncomfortable. Can I survive in outer space? Jin was surprised as she examined her body. My third wish to Shenron was for you to have the ability to survive in outer space. Belsei said with a smile, so that's how it is. But why did you bring me to outer space? Jin asked curiously, look, that spaceship. Belsei pointed to a spaceship moving rapidly in the distant stars. Jin gazed at the distant starry sky. And her eyes suddenly lit up, as far as the eye could see. Jin saw a spherical spaceship soaring through the starry sky. Jin immediately rubbed her eye switch were a little moist. And stared intently at Kakarot, who was fast asleep in the spaceship. It's Kakarot, Jin exclaimed excitedly. Should we go over and say hello? Belsei asked. Jin immediately shook her head decisively. Then solemnly warned Belsei, whatever you do, don't greet Kakarot. I feel that if his life experiences change, he might not be able to become a Super Saiyan, right? You make a good point, then let's forget about it. Beryl nodded, we'll just watch him from afar. Knowing he's safe and sound. Jin breathed a slight sigh of relief. Then resolutely turned her head. Belsei, let's hurry up and go, all right. Belsei did not object and used teleportation again, disappearing from the spot in an instant. The next moment, Belser and Jin appeared in the sky above the western capital of Earth and hovered high in the air. Jin blinked, this is Earth, Beryl explained. The city of Zidu, where the headquarters of the Capsule Corporation are located. This is the house of that little girl named Bulma. Jin nodded thoughtfully. No wonder she looked familiar. Are you looking for that little girl, Bulma? She's still quite young, isn't she? No. I'm just showing you around to see how bustling this city is. Beryl said with a smile. Aunt Jin, what do you think is the most important thing to look for when you come to Earth? Belsei asked. What we should be looking for most is Dragon Balls, Senzu beans, Haim muttered to herself. Okay, I'll take both, Bercy nodded. Belsei, do you have any wishes left after finding the Dragon Balls? Jin asked, adding, I don't have any wishes left. My only wish is to see Bardock again soon. But I don't think Earth's Shenron can do that right. Give Kakarot the ability to survive in outer space. Belser suggested, great, that's a good wish. Jin nodded excitedly immediately. After truly experiencing the ability to survive in outer space, Jin realized how appealing this wish was at first. Jin didn't quite understand why Belser made such a wish. And while we're at it, grant Baroko a similar wish. Jin added after a moment's thought. Earth's dragon can only grant one wish, Beryl explained. Yeah, I've seen them make wishes, Jin suddenly realized. Earth Shenron isn't as generous as Name's Shenron. But let's not rush it, let's wait until Goku is a bit older. Alright, let's put the Dragon Ball thing aside for now. But speaking of which, Aunt Jin, Belsi said, her expression suddenly turning serious. You said Beryl, Jin replied. Is Raditz really a good thing? Belsi couldn't hold back any longer and asked Jin. Since meeting Jin, Beryl noticed that she hadn't mentioned Raditz at all. It feels like Jin is acting as if she doesn't have a son like Raditz. Although Raditz is a typical brat, he is still Jin's biological son. Raditz let him be. Jin shook her head. Belsi at that moment. Beryl even noticed a hint of disgust in Jin's eyes. Bercy was truly speechless. That's your own son, how can you be so disappointed in him? I know where Raditz is, but won't you go see him? Bercy asked again. No need. Jin waved her hand, hastily biting her lip. Her expression hesitant. What's wrong, Aunt Jin? You seem a bit off, Beryl asked curiously. It's all right. Jin gradually smiled and explained. Now that Raditz has left home to venture into space alone, I'm relieved to know he's still alive. Unlike Goku, whose power level is only 2 right now. Who knows, he might become a Super Saiyan in the future. Alright, let's go find some senzu beans first. Bell suggested. Okay. Jin nodded, secretly letting out a sigh of relief. Berset gave Jin a deep look, sensing that there was something off about his attitude towards Raditz. As for what was wrong, Bercy couldn't quite put his finger on it. Maybe this child is just naturally annoying. Your mother has worried herself sick about you. Even if the planet explodes, your mother doesn't want to see you. Before leaving home, Raditz often angered Jin. For example, Jin let him play with Kakarot, and the guy pulled Kakarot out of the nursery, hung him upside down by his tail on the wall. When Jin saw it, she was horrified. Raditz even argued, that way Kakarot won't cause any more trouble. Our tails are a Saiyan's weakness. Hanging on the wall, he sleeps soundly. As he spoke, Raditz patted Kakarot on the shoulder. Suddenly, Kakarot swung back and forth on the wall like a pendulum. Jin nearly fainted from anger. There are many more examples like this, sometimes. Bercy really thinks it's quite an achievement that Kakarot has grown to the age of 3. I wasn't killed by that Raditz guy. Perhaps this is why Jin dislikes Raditz. Belsi, we're going to Garin Tower, right? I'll try to find it, Jin said, stepping forward. Okay. Beryl did not object. Jin looked around, pointed in the direction of Garin Tower and asked Belser. Over there, right? That's right, as expected of Aunt Jin, Beryl nodded. Belsi has a great sense of direction just like me. Jin said softly. Yes. Belsi paused, taken aback. Do I have the same sense of direction as you? Why bring it up separately? I always felt that Aunt Jin was acting strangely. Perhaps it was because Goku later achieved the Super Saiyan transformation that she became so excited.